Okay. Excuse me, guys. Finish getting this stuff together. We ready to go though. Okay. Prayerfully all is well with everybody. Hopefully everybody can see and hear me all right. Just trying to twist this enough. Prayerfully everybody can. I'm grateful for your presence and for your life. We actually trying to take care of one of the little ones that was going through, so we were actually Elder Alma, of course, putting in work with some of the stuff as far as health-wise that needed to make sure it was performed by mama and daddy, making sure that baby, well, I won't say which one, but the baby was doing all right, and baby is, all praises. So we able to come on here and do what we do with free minds and hearts, all, what they used to say, all hearts and minds clear. We able to come on here and not be sweating or worried about if I'm sweating because it's hot, but not be sweating, you know, is baby all right, this, that, or whatever. So we praise y'all for that. We praise y'all for technology to allow us to be able to do what's necessary. We praise y'all that we were able to move even before that and send some stuff out, that everything is working. It was already working the way it needed to. All praise to the Most High Yah. So thank you all again. Excuse me for tardiness again. I don't know, man. It's something heavy in this season. But we're gonna work through it. I'm not sure. Yeah, anyway, let me get myself in order. Thank you for being on. Tell your friends we're on. All right. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer. And it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, protect today's message. Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste, osai nikituya, Ohio. I see you, Manut, Wagwan, Kamsa, Kasamida, Aloha, Ciao, Ensemble, Crevet, Habarigani, Aquaba, Madaase, Etesen, Jambu, Mimi de Kofi, Nedara, Kukatan, Wewe, Boker To, Boker Tav, Guten Tag, Grand Rising, Bakwartav, Barakalat Shem Yechava, Anaiko, Vaiko, Chedet, Service of Christ, Mashalom Chi, Tada, Maishakap, Toda, Mishkapa. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. We give all praise and honor once again to the Most High, Yechava Elohim. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Amma, to the ministerial staff, to the moderators, SOC, Lottie Dottie, everybody. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. We're thrilled to have you one more again. And we're excited to be in your presence, to be in Yahweh's word with thee once again. Um, so, so we thank you. We appreciate you. We are grateful. We are running behind. We're going to continue in what we were doing yesterday with those pop lyrics. You know, we might actually be able to do a shout out for the first time in forever. I haven't had this thing queued up. If you paid attention, you probably heard that beginning of that song play like several times. Because every time I turn this on, it tries to go to the same thing. Because that's what I've had queued up. So prayerfully, we'll actually do a shout out for the first time in a long time today, and see how that goes. It's been a minute, but welcome. And as I said yesterday, we were going to do the POC stuff at least one more day. I wasn't sure about 3 days. I thought about 3 days, and then I realized, like, oh, actually, we can't really do the POC thing. Forgive me. Okay. But I realized we couldn't do the POC thing 3 days in a row because we got to have a what Independence Day is about for real message on on that day. But we will talk about POC some more today. I gave everybody a warning. If you feel like that's not preaching, um, it is what it is. But it's still talking about where we are and talking about how things change. So we'll be doing more of that today and talking about another, at least one more Tupac song. And hopefully you're able to do that. All praises to the Most High. If not, it's all right that you're not. And we still gonna keep doing what we called to do. All praises. So hopefully your day is going well. Hopefully it's starting well. We're gonna get ready to say our Bible pledge in just a second. I'm just setting up the last platform. There we go. Can everybody see and hear me all right? Before we get started, by the way, I know some of y'all already said yes. But if you don't mind indulging me again. Mm. Yes. Great eyes, ears already. I see y'all. Thank you for your help in that. Y'all don't know how much that really helps. Because even sometimes when they say you can't see me, they're going to give me signals on here. Sometimes that's to throw me off. And if I start over again, it makes the numbers go down. So sometimes I'll be thinking I need to start over, and the reality is I don't need to start over. All praises. All right. How you doing? Let's get ready to get into the Bible pledge. If you can, rise your feet in reverence of Yahweh's word, or however you are able to reverence the word, we ask that you do so at this moment in time. Thank you for being on all different platforms once again. We're thankful to each and every one of you. Thank you for your time, talent, effort, energy, the things that you do in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, phone calls, your gifts, all those great things that you give, including those of you who give stuff. This for us is not just virtuous reality, helping us to build a nation, even monetarily. We understand that we cannot do things that we do without the help of such persons as yourselves. We don't do any money pretty much at all. Outside of like Patreon type stuff or whatever, we really don't make any money off of these live sessions, even though they're given every day, right? We really don't. So, even myself, my family, we only make a percentage of what we get. Or I'm sorry, we only get a percentage of this. Because obviously this is the most of it, the heavy majority of any money that's being given is being used for the kingdom. So I just want to thank you guys for helping us with what we do for persons around the world. We're even behind on some of that. Still need some help on some of the WhatsApp stuff if anybody's available to do that from time to time. And just as a quick reminder, I guess, let's not forget, we're going to try to be in Ohio a couple days next week. By the end of next week, we're going to be in throughout the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We plan on being in Detroit again. And then the next weekend, at least for Saturday, we're planning on being in Brooklyn for baptism and for a gathering to get together. Mom. So if you would like to be partaking in any of those things, let us know. After that, yes, we will try to see possibly if we are able to finally rest in the DMV Baltimore area, somewhere in there. We will try our best to see if we could maybe do some live sessions and if persons would like to come out and participate and stuff like that. I'm gonna try my best. We got to, I guess at some point we got to do some kind of meeting, maybe some kind of Zoom meeting. I don't know, something. But so we'll try and see if we can get together and maybe try again for Monday. Last Monday was when everything kind of went up in the air, but we can try again for Monday and see what we can do. So if you can, if you know people in your area, whatever, if you just want to send reminders out, let the people know. I'm gonna try to do so as well. On Monday evening, we'll try to see if we can have a meeting, kind of hit out all three of these at the same time. For those in, New York, you kind of have more time, so we can maybe have another meeting before, but or in that area of the country, we can try to have another meeting before. But just, yeah, we're gonna try to do as much as we can in the time that we've been given. All right, we're already late. Let's go ahead and get into it. And I know that's the theme. I might as well not even say we're already late. We just always late. Y'all pray for me in that area. Seriously, it's a pet peeve of mine, but it's becoming long and it's become something heavy. And there's a spirit on it, and on my body too. I don't know. But anyways, all praises to the Most High. We also plan, by the way, to be on live this evening. And sisters, don't forget, it's women's meeting. Men's meeting should be on for tomorrow as well. I believe men's meeting should be taught by Brother Dwayne. So we look forward to that message. And as we are 2 messages away from closing that and starting to, as men start to learn about how to make sure that we're there to protect our women, protection of what that looks like as far as even teaching, what that looks like as far as hearing, what that looks like as far as empathy, what that looks like as far as guidance, what that looks like as far as patience, all these different things that we claim are virtuous. We're going to talk about these things as men, right? So sisters, I know that you be doing the same for us. Hey, I told you, you're going to get us in line, right? So we're going to reciprocate to each other, right? I'm on. All right. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If you can rise to your feet once again, reverence up your Chaf's word, or however you're able to reverence the word. Let me say shalom to everybody real quick. How's everybody doing? Minister Sister May LeRae, how you doing? Elder Anais, Keith, excuse me. Sister Allison, Grace Mercy, Sister Judith, Aaron. I still didn't send anything to you guys last night to the Samuels. Oh my goodness. Okay. Shepherd Houston, CT, Deborah, Sister Deborah, excuse me, Minister Akita, Double OG, Triple OG, Sister Shirley, Adriana, and thank y'all for the love. How you doing, Sister Beth? Tabitha, Rodney, Dariavash. Let's see. Baron, Sister Mignon, Coop Devada, Wavy Head, Joy Boy, the film, Logan Kellogg. Thank y'all for the love, the likes, share, subscriptions, hit the notification tab, the repost, all that great stuff. Once again, your gifts, your love, your views. We appreciate you. Okay. Alrighty, all praises. Okay, all right. We're going to go ahead and say our Bible pledge. We're going to jump right in. I'm looking for a name. I'll go ahead and explain it. I know it's not Q&A day today, but somebody asked a question. I got to look up the question now. Somebody asked a question. Well, let me just put this out here. So, because some of these things are great questions and they don't pop up on Q&A, so might as well just answer it real quick. We're about to do our Bible pledge. Matter of fact, let's do our Bible pledge first and then I'll explain something. Okay. Oh, did I? Yeah, I did. I think I did come in here. Let me just make sure. Excuse me. All right. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Shem Yahweh. Aman. Jehovah Shem, his name is authority. Let it be done unto us. You may be seated to go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High Yehovah Elohim. Now, in our Bible pledge, the question was asked. I don't recall all the specifics of the question, but long story short, the question was asked, okay, we do this Bible pledge, and there's kind of certain things a person's asked. The main thing that I get asked out of that, right, is why do we say no sort of God shall ever be heard? Right? Fair question, especially if you don't understand. So in our culture, in etymology, we like to use stuff as much as possible. Although we still, just because we have to teach, we have to still use certain words in their meaning. But I try to explain why there's certain words we don't use. For example, if you've been with us long enough, you notice that you don't really hear me say not only God, but good, right? Because God, or God in Hebrew, is simply one of the children of Israel. God in the Germanic tongue, right, in Gallic languages, Germanic languages, so therefore in English, and a lot of other places that you guys are using English, or use that in place of something in because you've been influenced by English or Anglo-ish language, God and good are the same word, Gaud, right? That's why you say all the time, God is good, or sorry, that's why you say God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. That's literal. How you doing? How you doing, Doc? How you doing, Sister Luana? How you doing, Magic Mikey? Thanks for being part of the community. Praying for you, Sister Luana. We just finally got back in town for us. We'll see if we can possibly lay some hands. You know, and the schedule is crazy because technically we shouldn't even be here. We should be already gone into Detroit. But I'll try to reach out as time allows. And prayerfully, you guys are doing well. You, your daughter, and family, of course. Yeah. So with the Bible pledge, this word. So if you notice, I don't say God because God is a Germanic language, and Germanic language means you can worship whatever you want. Good is the same thing. Godspeed, good speed, same thing. If you say God goodbye, it's God bye, which is God be with you. Which God? You got to figure that out too, by the way. Because you shouldn't always say goodbye or receive a goodbye if you don't know which God is being with you. That's cultural, but a lot of persons don't know that. Right? How you want to share? ¿Cómo está mi hermana? Lo siento. Gracias por tu presencia siempre. You know, hopefully you and your family, tu familia is all right. Let me see. But yeah, so God, good, interchangeable, or same word. So I don't use that to explain Elohim. Not necessarily there's even anything wrong per se with saying that Elohim is God, but it's kind of like this. When somebody says God, you have to know who they're talking about. God could be George Washington. That's why in God we trust is on the bill, right? That obelisk and everything, that's telling you something. God could be, you think of yourself as the God, right? I love listening to, I think it's Dewan Kyle or something like that, kind of lighter skinned brother that from Georgia wears the gold stuff. Sometimes he wear that hat with the weird stuff that pops off his head, very Afrocentric, trying to get Black Americans together and all that stuff. The stuff is very great, even though he's rough to listen to, but it's great. But he'll tell you about God, but he's talking about you have to be the answer to your own prayers. You pray to yourself because you the God, just like a lot of people say, what's up, God, right? You got to figure out who they're talking about. When Farrakhan preached a sermon a long time ago, and he said, I know my Redeemer lives, and everybody went crazy, especially persons that don't study, and they were busy saying, see, every knee will bow and every tongue must confess that Christ is Lord. And it's like he didn't confess. If you know what he's actually talking about, he's saying he's supposed to be the manifestation of Christ. That Elijah Muhammad was supposed to be the manifestation of Muhammad. That W.F. Muhammad was supposed to be Christ, the original Christ that came. So therefore, all he is coming back. So Christ came, died for us. That was W.F. Muhammad. W.F. Muhammad's physical father was actually Allah, not Allah, creator of all. Allah, a man. So when they talk about Allah, they're talking about the Allah in you. You see that, right? So I have to know all those things in dealing with their God, or else who we talking about, right? So everybody went crazy over this thing and was like, oh yeah, he said this, he said that, all praises at the boat, and you heard all these prayers, and I'm just sitting there like, y'all going crazy, because you don't know he's not talking about anything you guys believe in. Hey, how you doing, Bruder Richard? Congratulations once again to you all. Praying for you still. Glad everything is moving better. We're going to continue to make sure we check in and make sure things are all the way there. Thank y'all for the reposts and the love and the shares and the likes and all that great stuff. I thank you so much. Right? So I have to know what God you're talking about. So for me, I don't worship God because that's not what we worship anyways in Hebrew. I don't worship a man who I don't worship one of the leaders of the nations, of the 12 tribes, of the 12 sons of Israel. I don't worship them. I worship Elohim. So I just make it very clear. So when we say in our Bible pledge, no other God shall ever be heard, that's what I'm talking about. Right? I think the rest is self-explanatory. This is my Bible, right? So this is the set of books that I go by. This is my sword, right? The sword is what I use in defense and also in offense. And this will I trust, right? This is where my trust is first. For Yeshua, the Messiah, is who? Is Lord, Adam, right? No sort of God, that means any random thing shall ever be heard. Why? Because Elohim is what? This is my Bible, this is him, and this is Yah's word, right? Hashem Yechava, which is in the authority of Yechava, Haman. Or if some of you still speak in different dialects, whatever, cool. Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, etc., etc., right? Jehovah. How you doing, big brother Thomas? Looking forward to seeing y'all soon. How you doing, Sister Regina? So, yeah. So we got to have this stuff together. And my apologies. I meant to reach out to you to make sure that I can throw some dates at you, see if that's acceptable for us when we swing back by. But yeah, so we have to we have to recognize this. We have to realize and recognize that, okay? And these things that are going on. Now, once again, we're going back into pop today, right? I don't know if we're going to go through changes. Probably try to go through 2 songs today. But we're going to hit Dear Mama first. And then we're going to go over to... and we're going to go over to... let me see. Oh, and then we're going to go... We might go over the changes. Now, we're trying to see once again in this series, within the little series that we're doing, what is the point? I'm sorry, what? This book showed you how to use your brain socially, however truth lies within your pain. This book, in its origin, before it became even a book that everybody only knows through English and the Germanic lens, it's something that, dealt with things socially because it's something that was for a particular group of people that live together in harmony as a nation. And so within the nation, you have to be within the nationality, right? A born again birth, literally like somebody trying to become a citizen of another country. You have to be somebody trying to become part of a kingdom that's outside of a certain system that, yes, does do things as far as dealing with socially and brains, socially how we do things societally as well. But also too, we deal with pain different as different persons do. Go to France, they kind of look at you weak if you always crying about every little thing. Get yourself together. They look at pain different. Is it better or worse? That's for you to decide, I guess. But if you go there, that's not going to change any the less, right? If you look at marriage is viewed differently societally everywhere you go. If you look at names, if you go to France, using them again as an example, they have a list of names that they're like, yo, these are French names. If you're gonna look down, you can do whatever you want, but if you don't use these names when you get older, blah blah, we're just letting you know, probably not gonna look down, looked at that well, right? Every society, every kingdom, every nation has a way that they look at things, right? So, with all those different things being said, of course, I look at pain different than others do, right? I look at pain different than others do. Some persons are trying to use paints, depending on your Eastern, if you have Eastern philosophy, you're somebody who might think that you have to have balance. You have to have just as much pain or just as much evil as you have great times or positions of being pain-free. The reality is that I would rather have more time without dealing with pain or more time without dealing with stuff. I have to acknowledge it, I have to deal, but I'd rather have more times in my life where my focus doesn't have to, or my influence, I'm not and I'm not trying to say anything. This is something that when persons try to only deal in their pain or only deal with anger to win or to be driven, that's actually like very psychopathic, right? You see what I'm saying? Like a psychopath. You know, we talk about Kobe Bryant, we forget and Michael Jordan in their drive. We forget they're psychopaths. If you were to meet somebody like that in the street, usually you're not going to be like, as much as everybody tries to give them this because they won some rings, which once again, it's not even their rings, it belongs to the team. That's why when Michael Jordan went from the Chicago Bulls to the Washington Wizards, the Wizards didn't all of a sudden get 6 rings when he showed up, because that's not his rings. He didn't get to bring them, right? Or when he went from them to owning the Bobcats, which I guess eventually became the Hornets again. That's not his rings, right? They didn't get 6 rings when he showed up, right? The Wizards didn't go from having 2 rings to 8 rings when he showed up. The Bobcats didn't go from 0 to 6 when he showed up, because those aren't his rings. But we have this psychopathic tendency to take on things that are not our own. So within the nationality of those who actually are in the kingdom of heaven, there are certain things that we keep as far as our ways and things like that. So I don't view the way pain should be applied the way others do. Does not mean we cannot have similarities, but we're coming through different prisms. Right? Hopefully that will make sense even more, once again, to what the assignment is for today. For the assignment for today, once again, is to go through these lyrics of Dear Mama. You said you find it selfish because the world is ours and we let it burn. What's I don't even see the correlation. No offense. I can't give you the whole time, but I'm trying to actually see, when you say you find this selfish, you find what selfish? What am I saying that's selfish? That I want you to be in a position where you don't have to focus on pain only? I didn't say that pain didn't exist. I teach that you can't ignore pain. Matter of fact, pain is a great thing to make sure that you understand how to heal. But then, yeah, let's try to figure out how to heal. So what's the selfish part about it? How you doing, Brother Aaron? Welcome as always, sir. Okay, well, I don't know. But anyways, so the lyrics we're going to talk about today, from the same person we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we talked about keep your head up, right? Well, now, in this case today, we're talking about Dear Mama. Dear Mama by Tupac Shakur. Now, this is a tribute. So same way yesterday was a tribute to Latasha Hollins, who was off and in that store, and they came up with this song in '93. This is a tribute to his mama. This is actually written in 1995, right? So we're gonna see if things have changed. Yesterday, Dear Mama was 33 years ago. Today is 31 years ago, right? 30 to 31 years ago, depending on what month it came out. But let's just say this is 31 years ago to make it easy math, right? So 31 years ago, this song came out, right? Pop's gonna talk about his mama. He's gonna talk about poverty. He's talking about addiction. He's gonna talk about appreciation for it at the same time. All right. Now, also, I want to bring up this name because the name Shakur is a big time name too. Because not only Afeni Shakur um, is a name that you should know, right? But you also should know about Asada Shakur, who I believe is the, I don't even know if she's the aunt. I know she's the godmother or something like that, right? Or excuse me, step aunt of Tupac. So she was a friend of Tupac's mother. Asada Shakur was put in prison wrongly. So was Tupac Shakur's mother. And here we go. We're going to see some stuff where we're going to talk some real things, but at the same time, we got to talk about protection of our women, right? Because this is something that happens a lot of times in our community. If we're not careful, we're just going to repeat the same cycle, the same curses, all that stuff over again, right? So if we're not careful, how you doing, Sister Monica? We start a lot of movements. How you doing? I think it was Sister Jeanette. Welcome. We start a lot of movements in our community. We do. We start a lot of movements. A lot of them die, or our leadership is off. They're murdered, right? And when these assassinations happen in our community, basically things just kind of go back out. So you have What happened in Philadelphia? Things began to rise. Government comes in, drops bombs. Everybody shuts up. You still can't, those homes are still jacked up to this day. Or you have Tulsa, Oklahoma. Things rise. Actually, a lot of persons don't know Tulsa, Oklahoma kept coming back. But still, we mostly focus on what happened in 1921. Like the Gap Band said, dropped a bomb on me, and kind of things go away. We began to do well with, you know, a movement that has King at the forefront of it. King dies, goes away. We do well. Malcolm X is doing something. The movement becomes bigger than just the Nation of Islam. He's off. Next thing you know, it goes away. Farrakhan picks up smoldering ashes of it against the will of not only Elijah Muhammad, but Elijah Muhammad's son. Says that he's doing it for Elijah Muhammad, and Elijah Muhammad told him he would have to continue it. And he's, delved into some stuff that's deviated even further than what NOI initially even did. That being said, these movements come, they go, they dissipate. We don't really feed them anymore, and we think it's something that's impossible, rather than having these separate movements all come together. But at the same time, during these movements, there's a movement, right? MLK, when he dies the same year that I'm about to say the wrong person, not Freddie Gray, Freddie Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton is off in the same year, which means that the Black Panther Party, right? Because Fred Hampton is going to become the official speaker. Fred Hampton was going to become the Malcolm X of the Black Panther Party, right? Malcolm X was the Malcolm X of the Nation of Islam. Fred Hampton was going to become he was going to become the Malcolm X, if you will, the official speaker. Malcolm X was never the leader of NOI. He was the official speaker, right? So the two starters of the movement would still be the head, but they were no longer going to be the official speakers. Fred Hampton was going to be that because he had gotten so well at what he was doing. He had gotten, I forget what the so-called white persons, their white party, there was a white party, whatever they called their party, there was a Latino party they called whatever they did. There were different gangs, and there were the Black Panthers. Fred Hampton was so great at what he did, he had gathered all of them together, and they became dangerous. Till this day, when you talk about Black Panthers, they're gonna run through this again just because I mentioned the term Black Panther. That's how dangerous it was, right? And thanks for being part of the community Dream World, and thanks for being how you doing, called and becoming. Welcome back. So, and all these different things. How you doing, Cultural Prospect? How you doing, Sister Beck? Excuse me for missing you guys. So, in all these different things, we can see what's going on, and I need you to see that the Shakur name was a big deal within the movement, because especially with these two sisters now, you could look at them as like step sisters, or marital by marriage, or by babies, whatever. But long story short, these two women are in the Black Panther Party, and they're locked up, and both of them, at least Afeni Shakur for sure, who is Pac's mother. Afeni Shakur, oh yeah, the movie called Black Messiah, yeah, is out about that as well. Afeni Shakur, who is Pac's mother, was actually literally exonerated. Matter of fact, she was put in prison, and they basically said, like, we're not even taking it to trial. Officially, you shouldn't be in here. You have nothing to do with anything. She actually thought she was going to lose Pac, not just as far as like not carrying him to term. She thought that she was going to carry him to term, give birth to him in prison, have him be taken away, and she was going to serve the rest of her life in jail. She said, and she was excited. Actually, at the beginning of the Dear Mama song, or Dear Mama tribute that comes out, if you actually go and look at the video, it starts off with her talking about that, and talking about how she was so excited when she got out. She was happy, even through all the stuff that had happened, because she had a son, right? So that's the beginning of Pac's life. That's what Pac is going through. That's what Pac is being raised through in the womb, right? It was the Young Lords, okay, and the Young Patriots, okay, thank you. But ultimately, like I said, they all were going to be working underneath Fred Hampton. They weren't necessarily all working together, but they were working together, if you get my drift. Anyway, that part maybe we'll go into. Maybe that's not necessarily as important to go through what we're talking about today, because once again, we're talking about what has changed. So this is what Pac is coming out of, just being born. This is Pac's relationship with his mother in the womb. This is a normal relationship with a lot of persons. I know persons don't want to hear this. This is a normal relationship with a lot of persons of Pac's ilk or persons in our community, right? Still to this day, to where what's the next thing that's supposed to cause our people to be able to come out of things and work together? What's going to be the next thing that happens? What is it the police don't like? Who are they going to lock up next time? Right? This is a norm. This is a normalcy, right? I believe the statistic is now, what is it, 1 out of every 4 um, so-called black men in the United States of America will be arrested in their lifetime. Doesn't say they'll be arrested because they deserve to be. Doesn't say they'll be arrested because they did anything. Doesn't mean they'll be arrested because, like they're eating evidence of anything. Just means 1 out of every 4 to this day. And once you're arrested, you're allowed to be treated a certain way until somebody can, until you ultimately, right, but somebody can prove, oh yeah, you didn't deserve to be arrested, and your repay, even though you deserve to be repaid for your time. What we just do is just say, we're just thankful that we didn't go in, and the police got to do their job. But you're part of a system, and that's the normalcy. So I want to make sure I start there, because as much as persons want to keep saying, that's why I said you have to be careful. Don't allow somebody to tell you because technology has changed, and therefore the system has changed. If technology has changed for the persons that are poor, technology has changed for the persons who are rich. You think you have the same technology of Bezos in your house? Hmm? You think Bezos' wife deals with the same issues that you do? Matter of fact, you think Bezos' wife has to cook? You think she has to clean? You think she needs to show up to the PTA meeting to make sure that the children, that her children are receiving what they're supposed to? I mean, you might think those things, more than likely not. And I'm not saying they go to 0 of them, but I'm pretty sure they don't go to a lot of them. Matter of fact, probably couldn't go to them safely. To be fair, but that being said, to be fair, we go through a lot of things, and Pac is going through this, and Pac, is so he, in '95, what was it, '96? He died at 25. So, and I would have been '96. I would have been coming around for 14 or so. Yeah. So, yeah, I would when he died, I was 13, but I would have been turning 14. So let me just act like 20, 25 and 14 mathematically for me to just keep it simple, 11 years. So, he'd be, today, if he were alive, he'd be 50, 54, something like that, if I'm tracking right. So this is not, I try to tell persons that this is not somebody who, if you just do the math, this is not somebody who would be like way far gone. Like, we talk about Jay-Z being around and being a rapper and stuff, making it where Biggie and Pac didn't make it. Like, Pac would have been about Jay-Z's age, right? Who knows what he would have been looking like, if he would have been dressing different, if he would have still been Black Power, this and that, if he would have went to where he became a total traitor, would he have been a Trump supporter, would he have been a Biden supporter? If he kept the same stuff he had, he might have said, don't vote at all. Who knows? But I know this, that this is not somebody who's really old. This is not a long time ago, but just in a short amount of time, we say that things have changed, right? That he was born into a place where, once again, there's yet another movement, and for the movement saying that his people should be taken care of, that his women should be protected, that Brenda's baby should be looked at, right? That there literally is a song made changes, that I ain't mad at you because you're getting out the street, but we hold the street up to be something that we're supposed to look at. We're talking about the amount that you're supposed to keep your head up, to where sisters still, are feeling bad, and our children are still being shot in stores for simply existing and looking the way that they look. Have things really changed? And how you doing, babe? My wife is on the Honorable Honors. Always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, and the website at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thank you for being on, babe, as always. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the things you do behind the scenes. And we appreciate your presence, as always. Right? So, you hear what I'm saying? Um, we have to get to this place where we recognize and we realize that we're thankful for and grateful for an opportunity to lift up each other. And so, even though today we'll still be celebrating, we're talking about women, which we shouldn't have a problem with, we also have to realize that this is indicative also of community, right? What are we going to do to ensure that we're taking care of each other? Why do we need an exodus? Why do we need to exit from the system, right? Well, this system still has, Afeni Shakur's having children in jail cells and not having done anything. Once again, that's Pac's beginning of his existence, right? Is in his mother's womb. His mother wondering, will she carry her baby to term safely in a jail cell, right? Will she be able to give birth to him? And then once she gives birth to him, the government seems to have already decided that she has lied, or that she's blown something up, that she is guilty, and therefore they're going to send her. And like I said, his step aunt, right, who just passed away recently last year, she had to live the rest of her life in Cuba. They had locked her up for something that she didn't do, according to her. According to law, they locked her up and said that she did it. But they had locked her up for something she didn't do. She actually was able to have an escape plan put together, and she went over to Cuba, and she died over there, right? And she taught a whole bunch of persons and continued the fight over there, right? But she couldn't even be around her family. She had to run for her life. And, as much as everybody talks about the wicked place of Cuba and this and that, I'm not saying they don't do anything bad, but here we go, once again, another example of Cubans looking out for us more than persons who say that they consider us to be us over here. If they'll take care of our sisters. They'll say, hey, you can come over here. And meanwhile, we won't make sure that our sisters are taken care of over here. It's kind of crazy. Have things changed? You be the judge. But that's what we ask you. We just talking about these songs real quick. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Independence Day, and we're going to roll back into our Exodus series like we didn't miss a beat. But hear what I'm saying. Have things really changed? Everybody talking trash and talking this and talk your stuff, whatever you feel you need to talk. But have things really changed? Or are we still dealing with the same stuff? Right? Are we still dealing with women? See, I don't even think we talk, and I'm be honest with you, I talk about this a lot of times from a male perspective because I don't know the female perspective because I didn't do that. But I talk about being imprisoned, and even though it's for a short time, still being imprisoned and then having to deal with like checking in all the time and feeling like you're still in prison because you're only allowed to be in a room and you can't go anywhere, and then you have to only go to and from work, and maybe you get to go to a service here or there, but basically you got to check in, and they're looking at you through your ankle bracelet and all this stuff and all these things that happen to you. But I don't really think about the woman's perspective and how many sisters are being locked up all the time too. And who are the persons that are going in there to check on them and talk to them? Right? How many sisters are looked at wrongly? Even if we're not talking about being locked up. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing is one of a soft spot for me. She's somebody that, whether you agree with everything that she teaches, she's somebody that at least needed to be protected more. And I can't stand what happens nowadays, especially after she's passed. That's always what happens, by the way, too. Did I say shalom, Jay? Hopefully I did. And thank y'all for the love. One of the things that really bothers me is after persons die or after persons can no longer speak up for themselves, then all of a sudden everybody's hero. Muhammad Ali, everybody said he was their hero when he was dying, but everybody loved him when he couldn't speak anymore. When he was speaking, all of a sudden he was a problem. Now that he couldn't speak, he was the man. When he died, everybody loved him. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in 1967, the year before, they did a census on him, and everybody said he's asking for too much too soon. A lot of persons were hoping that he would die. 1968, persons celebrated his death. 1967, a lot of black folk were the ones saying he was asking for too much too soon. All of a sudden now, you hear everybody march with King. Everybody and their mama agreed with King. No, you didn't. I find it interesting. Everybody, let me bring it to us a modern one. You ready? Everybody hates Trump, but low key, not even low key for real, because everybody was so boisterous about it, right? But let's just say low key to be nice. Shoot, a lot of these cats out here who now want to backtrack on Trump, and all these persons, Theo Vons and Joe Rogan really won't backtrack, but he can't. But he trying to soften it, and all these cats out here. It's like, I remember you was the one out here talking about Trump this and Trump that. That wasn't. But I was 2 days ago years old when you said it. What happened? Oh, now it's not great for your brand. Now it was great for your brand to go ahead and get you this, get you that. But now he's not doing stuff that's great for your brand anymore. You can't really be brand, so you got to try and slowly. I mean, I got more respect. Just be 10 toes down. Theo Vaughn is crazy work to me, doing all this stuff now and still saying the most racist stuff. But like, gotta make sure everybody. Hey, a lot of y'all was Chud the Builder fans not that long ago. Now come to find out Chud the Builder not Chud the Builder. Can I say this? I don't know if the children know what this means. All right, I'm gonna say something. I hope if you get a chance, I give you. I'm gonna finish the rest of this. I'm gonna finish the rest of this, and I'm gonna say what I said. If you got children listening, this ain't for them really anyway. But if you got children listening, they might want to exit real quick. Okay. You have persons who follow Chud the Builder. Now some of your cats found out Chud the Builder is getting pegged. Now you can't stand with him. It was okay when he was saying we was chimping out. It was okay with it, but now, you know what I'm saying? It was okay when he said, man, you call them N-words with the hard R. That's how you get your stuff together. Even racist white supremacists hated Chet the Builder because he goes off cold. Racist white supremacists like you to be like, hey, some decorum. We do it for behind the scenes. We do it for protection. We do it, using pseudoscience. We use it, we'll make sure we use this, blah, blah. But he was out there breaking code. You said in Vermont, the ladies have more protection. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. I can't speak to that. So maybe you can speak to that, right? But I just know it's kind of like that whole thing of when somebody says, down south, blah blah. I'm not saying you're saying that per se, but for people to say, down south, blah blah. No, if you south of Canada, if you south of Greenland, you south. You know what I'm saying? If you south, if you south of the North Pole, you south. Forget all that. If you south of whatever is above the earth, you south. If you south of the choir, which y'all call the firmament, you south. Just right. This is it's a system. It's a word, right. The word world means system, right? But I say all that to say like things haven't changed, and so we still have sisters that get locked up. We don't even think about them. We talk about the brothers and stuff like that, but we don't really talk about the sisters. Like the sisters be getting locked up for stuff that they didn't do. Remember, the sisters get shot up. Y'all recall, not that long ago, sister in her apartment. Forgive me, I'm forgetting the name. Sister in her apartment. All of a sudden, gunshots come through the wall. Gunshots so bad or whatever that the guy gets arrested. Her boyfriend gets arrested because he runs out with a gun and he starts shooting. Doesn't know what's going on. Finds out that she died. Right? The sister, I'm forgetting names, please forgive me, Sandra Bland. I don't know which one is the one that they got her on film, where they tied her up like a pig. Hands behind the back, all that stuff. Had a gag in her mouth at one point, the gag fell out. She's begging for her life. They carrying her with her hands and her feet tied together. Like a suitcase. That's a sister. That's a woman. Cowards. That's what we dealing with, cowards. I know you're gonna call it whatever. You can keep trying to fix this from the inside out. You're not. It's gotta fall apart. You're not fixing that. That's what it's built on. That's the same coward that would have tied your woman down. This is what your fathers of modern medicine did. Look them up. They would tie your women down, and all that stuff that you hate, that they stick up in you and everything, when you go to get checked at OBGYN, they tested out all types of weird, crude instruments on your women when they said they weren't women. That's where that came from. Hey, how you doing, Sister Sage? Right? And beautiful picture, by the way, of I don't know if I said this to you yet or not. Beautiful picture of Sister Vega at with the ballet. I can't recall. I be messing up colors, so but let her know that we be praying for her still, and that we still she still gets mentioned quite a bit. How you doing, authentic man? So yeah, how you doing, Kente? Kente, long time no talk to. Feels like hopefully all been well, right? Breonna Taylor was the other one. Thank you. Breonna Taylor was the other one, right? But if you continue to go through all those different things and everything, like you have to, the recital video. Oh yeah, please feel free. I know Elder Alma probably love to see it as well. You know, but yeah, so it's like all these different things that are going on, and like all the that we're still dealing with the same thing. You have Afeni Shakur, and watch this. Here's another part of the song. This once again, this is '95. So when this video comes out, it's gonna be apropos, because here's gonna be Afeni Shakur, who's gonna have to bury her son with a song "Dear Mama." This is another part of the experience we don't talk about in our community. That how many mothers are having to bury their sons. Yeah, they're practitioners. I get that. I'm with you. Yeah, how many mothers are having to bury their sons? Now, to be fair, Pop did have something with putting himself in a position for him to get shot the final time. We're not going to excuse. That's one of the things I think that we're disingenuous in and acting like every single time. There are some things that we do sometimes that yes deserve or have consequences or deserve jail time. With that being said, let's make this clear. Regardless of how you want to make that argument or how much of that you want to talk about or how much percentage of it, I don't really care at this moment, right, to go into that, because the goal is that whatever we do, whatever we set up, whatever we're trying to accomplish, it should be towards us making sure that there's less death. And we're very great about talking about the death, but we're very poor about ensuring that there's less death. We're very great about talking about why it's everybody, whoever's fault it is for the environment, but we're not really great at saying we're going to take personal accountability as a community and say every time that somebody died, it's on us every time. Now look, I'm not saying we got to be careful with this. I'm not saying that means that if somebody dies, you got to blame on yourself. You got to weep 7 years. You got to do sackcloth and ashes every time. No, what I'm saying is that every time that we send somebody to our child, watch this, because this is our child. Shalom, Sister Joy. If I'm not mistaken, Happy Born Day. Am I right about that? I hope I didn't send the message early on the wrong day. Okay, I thought so. All right. I'm not. All right. For all praises. Happy Born Day to you. All right. Uh, um, Not sure. Well, I don't know. Not sure if I'm allowed to share ages and all that stuff or whatever. Happy Born Day to you. Happy Born Day. Happy Born Day to yeah. Oh, by the way, all July born days. I don't know if I've done that yet in July yet. So happy Born Day once again. Yam Yasalam to everybody who's June, everybody who's July. Happy Born Day to you. Hopefully you enjoy it. We say Born Day, by the way, as a reminder, because if we're celebrating the birth, you were birthed, right? So we celebrate those who birthed you, right, on your birthday. They should be celebrated as well. When we say Happy Born Day, we don't really care about that part. When we say Happy Born Day, so that those who are born, we can also say that we're thankful and grateful to each and every one of you. July 27th, all right. You have to remind me about it, but July 27th, I'll probably see something posted anyway, but still, July 27th, all right? So you're July, so I might be able to recall. I'm really terrible with recalling born days, but July 3rd shouldn't be a problem, right? Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. July 3rd, I might recall that one, right? July 27th, right? That's right. You did say July 7th. You told us be ready for that. you sure did. July 7th. Okay, July 7th. All praises. to the Most High. Yeah. But yeah, let's see. Let's see. So where were we at? Where were we at before I got? Oh yeah. So getting into this. So we had to recognize even mothers burying their sons for all the various reasons is a travesty. It just is, right? Mothers burying any parent burying their child, right, is a travesty. Which reminds me, I need to check in on our brother in Mississippi. But any parent burying their child is a travesty. You hear what I'm saying? Any parent burying their child, but especially if it's because we got a wicked system, that we have to take accountability. So what I'm saying is we need to, if we don't want any more little boys or little girls, we just went over that 33-year difference yesterday, right? With keep your head up. If we don't want any little boys or little girls shot wrongly, right, for not stealing in somebody else's store, then you got to create your own stores. And you know what you have to do on top of that? You said it was your my biggest fear. Oh, teaching a teen in the hood, mm, right? Now watch this. Watch this. Your mom's biggest fear. Okay. Yep. Now watch this. On top of that, if you're gonna start that store that baby boy or baby girl can walk into and not get shot in, it means you have to learn not to look at them the way others look at them. Because we look at them like others look at them. This is what I'm saying as far as what we can take accountability on. How you doing, Sister Jennifer? This is what I mean when I said we can take accountability on it. We have to learn. Don't miss this, beloved. We have to learn how to stop looking at ourselves the way that others keep telling us to look at ourselves. Come on now, double OG, triple OG, right? Come on, Greer family. You hear what I'm saying? We have to stop looking at it. So watch this. Do you know that most of the time, this gonna sound just follow me, beloved. Follow me. There's work that has to be done. Any of us that grew up with any amount of self-hatred, and I'm not gonna play this game where you're gonna be like, I was 100% always loved me. Everything that was black, I loved. Everything that was Israel, I loved. Everything that was no, you didn't. Not if you went to West. Not if you went to school. Just no, you didn't. I'm not saying it can't be 95% you love, but we're not gonna play this game, right? Just this is just science. We're not gonna play this game where you're gonna tell me that you grew up and you ain't had blah blah. So hear what I'm about to say, right? The way that you look at your brother and sister is not what you think. I know you swear that you don't think anything about light skin, dark skin. Yes, you do. You have to account for that and say, okay, when I see somebody that's light skinned, let me make sure. And I know it's gonna sound weird. When it becomes a habit, it becomes so quick in your mind you don't do so. But you have to go through the process of being like, hey, we were taught light skinned, right? Light skinned folk think like this. So whenever I see a light skinned cat, I gotta start saying to myself, he's not somebody who's a jerk just because he got light skin. Yeah, you do. Because that's how we were trained. When you see an African coming, how you doing, Empress? You got to be careful. A lot of y'all used to say you don't even know what this is. African booty scratching. You're going to have to learn that when you see the African, you deal with some stuff that you got in you, some jokes that you hear still to this day. Still to this day. I be listening can I be honest with you? Sometimes I still listen to persons play the dozens, right? Joan on each other, fry each other up, make fun of each other, whatever, right? And they still using the same tired stuff. So if somebody's African, that person's not even close to where Kosa or South African or tonal language is spoken, or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh, is this your language right here? Your parents saying stupid stuff, saying stupid stuff." You know what I'm saying? But that's something that we still have in us. There's still a thing of, hey, you know what? A skinny woman acts like this, and a heavy set woman acts like this, and a voluptuous woman acts like this, and blah blah. What if she just skinny? You know what I'm saying? Like there is the whole, what is it that you taught us, baby, for the whole pitta, I'm gonna say it wrong, pitta beta kappa. I'm saying it wrong, but you know there is a science to, yes, there are certain things that people do or eat or blah blah are predisposed to, and weight will usually be a sign of it. But that being said, sometimes you could, you know, like you don't have to be skinny and mean. You know, like this is what we were taught: skinny is mean, right? Heavy set is jovial, and that's whether you male or female. Right? That's why y'all. That's why they made Santa Claus fat. That's one of the reasons they made him fat, was because people assumed that fat means jovial. When y'all know that some of the meanest folk you've met can happen to be overweight. Some of the nicest folk can be overweight, but we don't go through the whole thing of like looking through. So what I'm saying is we're gonna have to learn, if we don't want somebody to look at us that way. First things first, when we talk about we don't come out of their system, okay, cool. When you come out of their system, make sure you stop looking at each other weird too. You know, that's one of the reasons why you ask for discounts from your own people, but you don't ask for discounts from somebody else, because they don't deserve anything less than the best from you. You were trained to do that. They made shows about you from the 1960s on how do you get black people to spend more money. They said make it more expensive. What is it? Ayurveda, Dosha, Constitutions, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Okay, I was kind of close. Not really. All right, thank you, Ben, for putting that in the chat. Right. So, but you know, but that's what you hear what I'm saying? Like we have a self perception. We have an issue with self. That's why we got to exit that. We have to exit that. And forgive me, I got holes in my clothes now. It's okay. It's about time for me. I'm sorry. I hope it's not. Maybe that's why I be getting these things where they be saying I would be revealing myself. I got holes in my clothes. Y'all forgive me. It's nobody's fault. I just don't be. It's been a while. I need to. I need to do some shopping. So I just realized I got a big one over here. My apologies. I hope I'm not doing anything crazy to anybody. TikTok tried to say that I be revealing myself. I don't know if that's why. But anyways, um, so so because TikTok be trying to take us down for anything, so I got to be careful about everything. But anyways, um, you know, but I'm just saying overall, like getting back on track. Excuse me. We have to learn how to identify. That's why you will ask your own people for a discount, because you don't see them as worthy of giving them your best. You'll give better quality to somebody else for less money, but you'll say to your brother and sister, it better be this and it better be this price. But why do you give it to everybody else for nothing? Can I tell you something? I ain't even trying to hold you. I'm not trying to say this because I'm mean. I'm not trying to say this because I'm trying to be money hungry. I'm just being honest. I've noticed that if I go to a white church, they don't have to even talk about tithes and offering. They just give it, and it's expected that it's given. But you go to a black church, and we got to make sure the music is saying it, and getting you in the mood. We got to make sure somebody give a message about it for 10, 15 minutes. We got to make sure that we circle back around. We got to make sure that we talk about it 3 times through there. We got to give a disclaimer on it. But you go, and I'm not trying to say that should be a division in color. Hear what I'm saying? There shouldn't be, right? But we'll be upset. But that's a thing that we have, right? That others don't have. When they come together, look, you be like, dang, how is this Spanish church just come out of anywhere? And they'll worship anywhere. You go in a basement, but somehow the basement's got an extension, and there's 200 jokers down there. How are they doing this? Like, where are they come? Because they don't look. If this is for community, if this helps us out, if this is going to get us to grow, we don't need to talk about it or whatever. Whatever's necessary to get our people going. If it's going to be the word, then that's what we're going to support. We used to make fun of the little Spanish girl that was at the laundromat on a Sunday afternoon after church, frolicking and skipping to and fro in her best, in her Sunday best. But no, it's that important. Their life was dedicated to it. If it means that they got to do their laundry at full Sunday regalia, so be it. But they was dedicated to everything that we can give, all the extra time, all the extra whatever. And then whatever we got left, they made sure. But guess what? That assembly took care of the neighborhood. Excuse me. Everything, it's their culture. That's right, $200 lines, two additional lines. Yeah, now we going crazy, but you know what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that we got to deal with that part too. I think that's more us sometimes. They do that too, but they do it in different ways, right? They do it in different ways. To be fair, right? So you don't see it as much with them, but yeah, for sure, right? But I'm just saying, if we believe that something is righteous, if we believe that something will take us where it is, if Yah says, well, if you believe this, just make sure that there's stuff meat set aside for my house, for my family, for my people. But that's how we perceive ourselves, right? I've never seen anybody walk inside of Brooks Brothers, which made their money off of enslaving us, right? If you don't know, they made clothes for slaves and they made clothes for slave owners. That's how Brooks Brothers got their stuff together, right? And now they won't accept anything from you, right? Anything less than slave owner prices. And you will make sure, as the former slave, to give them nothing less than slave owner prices. But your brother's out there with the business, and he says this shirt costs 30, and you always talking about, man, look out for me, give it to me for. Why can't you hook me up for 15? The shirt costs 30. We do that to y'all. Will a man rob y'all? Yes, you have robbed me. How have we robbed you? Tithes and offering. Come on, y'all, give me the blessing, give me the blessing. But you know, I'm not gonna give you tribute though. Come on, give it to me. But you know, I'm not gonna give you, I'm not gonna give you sheep. I'm not gonna give you the best of my crop. I'm gonna give you, this fruit that's kind of okay. Why would you take his offering but not take mine? But if you do well, I give you well. Why are you upset? That's what he told Cain before he took the life of his brother. He said, if you do well, if you just do what you're supposed to, why would you not expect for me to give you the best? If you give me your best, I give you my best. That's how it works. No, 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 no. We're gonna haggle. We're gonna haggle. Let's haggle with Yah. Meanwhile, though, you don't haggle with others, and you know it's because in your mind you're still supposed to put them before Yah, or what they are, how you look at Yah. How you doing, DK? So yeah, so we have to be careful with a lot of that stuff, right? Oh yeah, Brooks Brothers. Yeah, a lot of places. You go to Georgetown University. If you in DC, there's a Brooks Brother. What is it off M Street? Brooks Brothers. Keep going down towards George. Is it Georgetown? I think it's up there. One of the big ones is up there. I think it's Georgetown. And if you go up there or whatever, then you'll see that Georgetown was started because of slavery as well. He had nuns. The nuns were running out of money. One of the nuns had a family that had slaves. They said, hey, we worship. We're representatives. Basically, give us a tithe, give us an offering of your slaves. They gave them a whole family. They was able to finesse that family into getting more slaves and more slaves, and now that worked its way into what you call Georgetown University. Some of you only think about it because of Allen Iverson and John Thompson and persons like that. No, that's straight up slavery. That's what it is. It's straight up slavery. It's because of how we view ourselves. Anyway, let's get into this lyrics. Dear Mama. Dear Mama. Yes. Now watch this. And and can I tell you the truth? This is just me. I'm being honest. You might have to pull my black card, so to speak, my black card. Um, uh, well, I mean, if you decide to use it, that's a dialect. That's not original anyway. It's the ak or akoti, or some of you say akioti and all that stuff. It's really achi or achiat. But you know, if you akioti, if you must be called that or whatever, it's still not original. But you know, if that's the dialect, it's close. Fine. Akioti, if that's if that's if that if that's if that makes me worthy of being able to call you whatever, my apologies for not calling whatever. I'll try to make sure that I keep that in mind for you. But you see what I'm saying? Here it says you are appreciated, right? And by the way, I'm gonna use the word appreciate as here's another one for you. That person be messing with you. I'm not Rasta, but even Rasta doesn't get this when he says that or whatever, right? Um, but long story short, it's just what was I looking for? Hold on. Uh-oh. Now I'm going somewhere. Sorry. Let me get myself together. Let me get my mental map. I'm out of pocket. Uh, I lost it. Oh no. Oh, I'm going to use the word appreciate, right? A lot of persons say you can't say, like Rasta say, you can't use word appreciate because they don't say appreciate, they say it's appreciate. So you don't say appreciate because why would you hate somebody? You just say appreciate love. Um, I still say appreciate because that's how you say the word appreciate. Literally is me saying that I see the value in, right? When you appreciate a rock, you take a magnifying glass and you see the value in it, right? So if I'm appreciating something, or something even appreciates, we're saying there's value, right? So I'm not saying appreciate for those of you who are on that. I'm going to use the word appreciate if that makes you feel some kind of way, if it makes you whatever. I apologize. I'm going to be quoting lyrics today. All right. So he starts off by even saying you are appreciated. And if I be honest with you, for the longest time, I actually thought this was. I thought he used to say, I appreciate or something like that. But he says, no, you are appreciated. And that means a lot. I love how he does that in the song because he's going to talk about ups and downs with his mom and this and that. But ultimately, he says, he's saying, whenever he says, like, for example, we're going to go back to this, but he says, a poor single mother, oh welfare. Tell me how you did it. There's no way I could pay you back. But the plan is to show you that I understand. You are appreciated. I love that. I love that. Like, because I used to think, oh, I appreciate. I don't know why in my brain for the longest time it clicked that. And when I realized he was making a point to say you are appreciated. He made the point several times through the song to say, hey, and that is a great thing to start with because a lot of our mothers, a lot of our women, a lot of our sisters do not recognize. Yeah, we were talking about that when we were doing the lyrics from Keep Your Head Up yesterday. That a lot of sisters, this is one. So I wasn't going to teach on this at all. We were going to go right back into the plagues. And Holy Spirit had me listening to nothing but like 3 or 4 Pac songs on repeat over and over and over again. And I started to realize that. How I started, I just let my hair grow. It's free locks. Um, so, but in all these different things, sincerely, healthy scalp and all, of course, is required. And welcome. M, is it? Welcome. Um, so, but yeah. So for him to make sure not only he's saying you are appreciated, right? That's something that he's saying to his mom, but also Pac is very big about this in songs. When he said, even when he's speaking to somebody in particular, he knows he's speaking to a whole bunch of persons. When he's speaking to a whole bunch of mothers, he's letting you know you are appreciated. Just like yesterday, and keep your head up when we went over that, and he said, Pac basically he was saying, I love all the kids, children, but all the kids, even if and I love them even if nobody else want them, right? Or I see y'all even if nobody else does. He was even saying that with the women. He said to the single mothers. He said that later on to them. I see y'all even if nobody else does. But he's making the point to say to all the mothers that be feeling some kind of way or feeling like nobody else, yes, you are appreciated, right? Even if there's things you do wrong, even if there's fights that we have, it's important that you know. And that's something in our community that we don't know. You know what? And I don't know if Elder Alma's still on or not, but I'm gonna if she's on, or even if not, you sisters can go ahead. But there was a thing I listened to just to show you how unappreciated our women are, and how much we tell them to not be women, and they get mad when they're hardened and not soft and all that stuff. It took I don't even remember the name of the sister. I wish I had taken a screenshot of who this person was so I could keep saying who this is because she did something and just being a woman and speaking about things from your perspective as sisters that I never would have forgotten in my life. I was watching this thing and I had to stop. I don't recall if it was before a live session or if it was whatever. It was the middle of the night. It was something, but it caught me off guard because she started speaking about her experience as a woman, and as particularly as a black woman, as she was saying that she finds it interesting that like, or not interesting, she just knows that I found it interesting that women in our community are not as much as we're only told. Yeah, women just have children and they have this, and women just have children and children and children and children. Statistics don't show that. They show it with certain women still in certain situations, right? But hear what I'm saying before you automatically go into this place once again of downing our sisters, right? That's why I said before we say this stuff, we got to get rid of, eject some of the stuff from our mind. All right, you ready? She said something that was so profound. She said, as a black woman, she cannot recall a time in her life that anybody has ever told her or has ever encouraged her to have children. When I heard that as a man, all right, fair enough. Can I be honest? And thanks for being part of the community, MIC, right? Can I just be honest? As a guy, all right, as a male, not as a female, not as a woman, I'm just being honest, right? How you doing, Sister Michelle? As somebody outside of your diaspora, in a sense, as far as I'm not a woman, right? When I heard that, my first response and everything I heard was like, this cannot be true. This no, like I was like started going through my teachings and stuff. I was like looking at people. I was like, no, we talk about family, we talk about this, we talk about that. And I started looking up people, and I started looking at like famous teachings, and I started, and then I was like, is that well? And then I said, let me get outside of me. Let me get outside of what I want to hear. I desire. I need this and that. Blah blah. What makes sense to me was logical. And I was like, let me go to my wife. And I said, babe, I don't know if you're busy, blah, blah, blah. But if you're not, can you just watch this? It wasn't that long. I think it was like a minute, 2 minutes. And I was like, can you watch this and just tell me what she's saying is correct? And so my wife watched it and like within like first, I think 30 seconds, she was pretty much nodding her head. And I was shocked. And then at the end, I was like, is that true? And she goes, yeah, very true. She's like, it's looked down upon. You're not supposed to have children. You're not supposed to talk about this and talk about that, blah, blah. You're not supposed to have questions about sex. You know, dude. Like, and I knew some of that, but I never thought to myself, like, we really get upset about our sisters being soft, and we don't even encourage. As much as we talk about we want wives and mothers, we don't even encourage motherhood. Like that hit. That was, and I'm saying we got to come outside ourselves. A lot of persons gonna like when I say this. A lot of persons gonna go away and be like, "Oh, here he is. He's a simp. He's simping. He's caping for this. He's looking for." No, no. I'm being very honest with you. Like, how you gonna grow a society and you don't even honor motherhood? I know fatherhood's not honored. Two things can be true. Okay, before we go there, blah, blah, no, no, no. I know we don't honor fatherhood. I get that. I'm talking about how we getting on women for not being soft and pleasant and sweet and homebodies and all this stuff that you had this list, besides her brain and her being a helpmeet and her being able to call things out to make sure that you become stronger and not allowing you to be around nonsensical friends and stuff like that. But you don't like that part of the list. But all the other things that you're saying, and we don't even encourage that. That's right. Come on, there you go. Like you force people to be soldiers and then get shot their soldiers, or you get forced them to be soldiers and then you say, "Man, we made them soldiers. We turned them into the ultimate soldiers. We won the Vietnam War, but we don't know why there's so much homeless veterans all around because they weren't trained to be in society. They were trained to be animals." Here's Holy Spirit, help me with this. Sidious, I'm with you, so I don't want you to think I'm against you. I want to say something. I don't know how to say this yet. I've been trying to figure out how to say this. Maybe we could workshop this right here, right? Real talk. I don't know. We say that women need their hearts softened, or they need to soften their hearts, or they want to come into their soft areas. I think that. Okay, what was that lyric from "Keep Your Head Up" yesterday? We've been in the Book of Pac, if you haven't noticed. what's that? What's that lyric from "Keep Your Head Up" yesterday that we went over? Um, And ultimately, we're talking about, has anything changed? In 31 years, has anything changed? We haven't even gotten to the lyrics yet. Just to set up for the song, right? We can see so much need for the song still. But he said, what were we talking about? Softening the heart. Mm. Oh, he said something along the lines of on the inside you dying, but on the outside you look strong, right? On the inside, like you falling apart, but on the outside, yeah, we look at you on the outside. Oh man, she did, she that, she scowled, she blah blah. But in the reality is she's waiting to do that. And so in other words, she's protecting her soft heart. Because little do we know, one more time, and she might not be able to take it. That's how she feels. One more time, I might not survive the next time. So all of y'all is dogs. I can't trust you. Now it's still a difficult place to love somebody in, though, right? But until you create a not see, watch this, because we keep just going, be soft-hearted, be soft-hearted, but she doesn't live in a society. See, you go like this. Look, even if she's soft at home, she still got to put on that hard heart for work. And at some point, you can't. I see. Look, they told you this. This is not a reality. I'm okay. No offense to anybody, not just women, to anybody. Okay. If you have to live in a society, how you doing, Sister Erica? If you have to live in a society where you are one thing one place and one thing another place, what we have to do is we have to lie. I know. They told you that was professional. That means you have to lie about how you operate one place and then operate different in another place. I know we want to call it something different. This is one of the tricks of the enemy. No, you don't understand. That's how you operate in corporate America. You're right. In corporate America, you better be this. At home, you better be this. But your brain, your body. Let's just talk about your physical functioning. Your body doesn't know anything other than you're doing two different things. So your body is going to think something's wrong with you. And over time, you get stressed. Period. I'm just trying to tell you how it works. Right? For example, here's one about stress. Your body doesn't understand if you're getting chased by a bear or if your bills are due. Either way, the same stress hormones and all that, they operate the same way. And they'll tear your body apart the same way. Your body doesn't know the difference between the stress of somebody got hit by a car and as somebody's getting bullied. It does not know the difference. So if you're going to put a place to where sisters can actually be valued, and yes, everybody can be valued, then you have to have a place to where there is as little code switching as possible. Yeah, you said like, well, code switching, yeah, like yeah, when mama, she can be saying, girl, whatever, you better make sure that you do them dishes before I come back in here. Hello, Christina speaking. May I help thee? Right, D is a little much, but you know what I'm saying. But well, see, watch this, because integrate actually means integrity, integral, one. So like for the United States of America, for example, the United States of America has never been integrated because the only way you can truly be integrated is to only have one being that's worshipped. The only way you can ever truly be integrated, that's integrity. The only way you can be integrated is to have one way of is to have one belief as far as how marriage works. The only way you can truly see, a lot of persons say, no, we're integrated. No, that's not how integrity works. If you say everybody has the right to worship whatever they want, that's cool, but that's not integrity. That's non-integral. You said you can't integrate under this Constitution is deeply entrenched. Yeah. By the way, the Constitution can't say freedom, justice, and equality for all when it's not based off of freedom, justice, and equality for all. Why did the southern states secede? Why did Georgia say they seceded? Why did Texas say they seceded? Why did South Carolina say they seceded? Why did Mississippi say they seceded? Why did Florida say they seceded? Why did others eventually say? You can read why they said it. They said they seceded due to the fact that they believed the founding fathers, right? Why did Virginia say they seceded? They believed that the founding why did New York want to secede? They didn't, but they desired to. Why did they? Why? Because they said the founding fathers said that it was God Himself who had allowed slavery, and that slavery was mutually beneficial for both the free and the bond. That's what their belief is. That means that they're saying that the founding fathers said that this country is based upon slavery. That's why three-fifths compromise exists. Not because you were three-fifths of a human being, because you were 0% of a human being. They were trying to figure out how much the South and the North should pay taxes on you. So they decided the South would pay 60% taxes and the North would pay 40% taxes. Some of you think that means you were 60% of a human being. No, it means you were 0%. So when it says that there's freedom, justice, and equality for all, when it says we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, you weren't even considered to be a man. And even when they had their first vote in the 1780s, or if you want to say 1791, people will argue that 1787, 89, 91, depending on, paperwork and legal and all this stuff, whatever. But ultimately, when they had their first vote for George Washington, they got 100% of the vote. That should tell you something. Only 6% of the population were even eligible to vote, and a bunch of persons didn't vote even then. And if you were a woman, white or otherwise, you couldn't vote. If you were black, you couldn't vote. If you were Native American, you were called a savage, and you couldn't vote. What are we doing? If you were not a white, wealthy landowner, you couldn't vote. So you see what I'm saying? We have to recognize that even in the Constitution, that Constitution can never be integral, because even by law today, you as a person of color have to belong to a system not as a natural. So you think natural born means you're a natural person. Natural born citizen means that they're saying your nature comes through what they say it is through the prism. Because we used to be freedmen. When they tried to make sure they broke down any kind of allegiance to the Confederacy ultimately did win because their ideology won. But if they wanted to break down any allegiance to that, what they tried to do is what? They tried to say, we'll let freedmen have 40 acres and a mule. They immediately took that, and Lincoln was going to probably take it anyway. He just didn't survive long enough to do it. But even General Sherman said, we didn't do that because we like black folk. We did that to break the Union. But we don't believe that should have been a thing. And we know that now they're going to use it to go ahead and he was on board with that whole rhetoric that starts the KKK. Right? So you're trying to tell persons it's safe in a system like that. And you're trying to tell persons you're going to reclaim the values of the founding fathers and what they really meant. And then what they really meant was for you to remain nothing. That's right. There is no integrity unless you're talking about agreeing with that. There cannot be integrity in the system. Now, how you doing, Donovan? Thanks for being part of the community. Because once again, if it's integral means what? One. Integrity. If something is integrated, it means everything becomes one. And what everybody's trying to say is, no, we're just going to integrate all religions. You can't integrate all religions. You can allow for all religions. I'm thankful that they do, because it allows me, especially privately, to do what I would like to do. I'm going to do it over here, right? That being said, though, you can't call it true integration. And here's another thing that a lot of persons don't want to hear on that. And then I really got to get into these lyrics we haven't touched. But here's another thing we don't want to put on that either is, hey, your best in history of the world, in history of the United States of America, the greatest you've ever been has been when you have been segregated. If you want to talk about when you were making money in baseball, Negro Leagues. They got rid of the Negro Leagues and started pulling people out of Negro Leagues because Negro Leagues was doing better than the Major Leagues. They used to have, the first, what you guys call the All-Star game now, where it's the American League versus the National League. That was the Negro Leagues versus the Major Leagues, the white versus the black. And the Negroes used to beat the brakes off of the whites. They couldn't get anybody to show up. to the major leagues like that. Now you'll get this weird history of, oh yeah, everybody was showing up to so and so, but go look at the names that are big time in the 60s and 70s, you know, the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s in baseball. I'm not saying they're not big names, but for real, you'll notice that once you get past like two, three of them, don't nobody care about these people because nobody was going to watch them as much as Josh Grisham. Nobody was going to watch them as much as Satchel Paige. Jackie Robinson wasn't even up there. You got to look for Buck, and you got to look for all some other kind. Jackie Robinson, he was an all-star, but he wasn't even up there. Well, Jackie Robinson was brought over not because of how great he was, but because of how much he was going to be able to take all the foolishness he was going to have to take. But Jackie Robinson wasn't one of the best Negro League baseball players. Matter of fact, if you want to get into it, Babe Ruth is one of the greatest Negroes to ever play. You said you just found out. Oh, yeah, that's great. I just had some hive stuff myself. Just came down. Praying for you. I didn't realize that was going on. Yeah, make sure you take care of that. And I think I said salam, Sister Greta. If I didn't, please forgive me. How you doing? El Yes Salam. Right? Babe Ruth is probably the greatest Negro player. Well, in the major leagues, he got to play long enough. But he was up there out pitching everybody, out hitting everybody. Everybody's like, how was he doing that? He was a Negro playing with whites. Back then, that was a huge deal. But he got the pass, and people hid that stuff back then. Because especially they made him their hero. If anybody found out their hero was not only that, but he was fornicating on his white wife with all these other white women all the time, whatever. Hey, man, we have a problem. So they hid that thing very well. But you can ask his family. You don't have to believe me. Ask his granddaughter. Ask his great-granddaughter. They'll tell you, all the stuff people talk about black this and black that in baseball. And they're like, y'all don't talk about Babe Ruth. I'm just quoting them. We know for a fact. I'm not from the world. I'm not from the system. I'm in it, but I'm not of it. Put it like that. So, but anyways, getting back to this stuff. So Dear Mama is a sign that we have to have a place to where she don't have to code switch. Afeni Shakur gets caught on drugs and stuff because she's sitting there having to go into a system that she tried to fight her way out of, and yet here she is trying to raise 3 children in that system. Right? This is a sign. So some of the things we're going to see is a sign of when we don't have a place to where persons can be protected. Straight up. Right? So he says, when I was young, me and my mama had beef, 17 years old, kicked out on the streets. So he starts off with like, yeah, he starts off with the roughest of times. And it's interesting, like when we even, by the way, I like the way that he does this because when we reminisce about persons, a lot of times we start off with the worst for some reason. But you have to remind yourself of all the great things, right? He says, though back at the time, I never thought I'd see her face. Ain't a woman alive that could take my mama's place. This part right here is always a little, especially when I hear the music behind it, I get a little emotional because at the end of the day, like especially with my mom being gone, even though she's been gone over 20 years now, it's time flies. 25 years, quarter of a century, she's been gone, but it still feels fresh when you think about it. But and all the stuff, you think about this, you think about bad things, blah, blah. You think about, maybe this could have been better, this, that, whatever. Ain't a woman alive that could take her place. This proves I'm evil? Oh, because I'm a preacher and I can use rap music to talk about things that are going on in my community. They still talk about how the word can be something that can heal. Is Lecrae evil? Yeah, okay. And you gave a like while saying I'm evil. Very interesting. But all right, how you doing, right? you mixed up on some stuff. You got to figure life out. All right, and thank y'all for the love, by the way. Appreciate you. Even from our enemies, appreciate you. All right, so you are appreciated. But yeah, so even in the lyrics, he talks about like that ain't a woman alive that can take my mama's place. This is one of the reasons why we have to lift up our mothers and lift up our women. Nobody can replace a mother. right? Because, and if there is no mother, you can't even be placed here. How are you gonna replace the only reason that you're here? Seriously, we try to replace them with y'all. Some of y'all trying to replace these sisters. First of all, some of y'all will have babies with these sisters and then run off, which is part of the lyrics. Some of that Pop talk about his how he thinks about this. But you know what I'm saying? Like some of y'all having babies with them and then leaving them to raise stuff up. I believe yesterday the lyric was that I hate it when you sit up there, you play all this, and then you leave them to be the pappy. You know, like so somebody right, and then you replace them with other women, and other women, and other women. You replace them with this, that, whatever. I'm not saying that there can't be things that happen. I'm not saying that there can't be reasons for divorce. I'm not saying none of that. What I'm saying though is that there's too much of this thing where, you know, we act like mothers are replaceable. Matter of fact, if you have children, this is one of the things my wife had to teach me too. She said, that even after we've been in a relationship for a while, there are persons that would, because there's always people that talking trash about your marriage. And she was like, there are people be like, well, at least you only have one child if you do end up not having stuff work out, because at least you only have one. Men will like you more if you have one than if you have many, which I get to a certain degree, and I get that, having crazy stuff like stories of women that got 5 children by 4, 5 baby daddies or stuff like that, or even more, can be something where that some men don't want, they want to have clean slate, da, da. But hear what I'm saying. This thing of us looking down on motherhood, this thing of we don't even make sure that we promote motherhood amongst women that are supposed to become mothers, should speak very ill of who we are as a people, where we are right now as a nation. Something should tell us something's off. Seriously, and we're not promoting motherhood. And then when mothers become mother, we basically say, like we. As a matter of fact, children don't recognize we're without natural affection. 1 Timothy chapter 3. Sorry, 2 Timothy chapter 3. Truce breakers, without natural affection, lovers of ourselves, heady and high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of Yah, right? But without natural affection is crazy work. The next generation is coming up hating themselves, as once again the lyric said yesterday, right? And if we don't do this right, we need to stop hurting our women, taking from our women, raping our women. It's time to heal our women, kill for our women, right? And if we don't, we'll have a race of babies that hate the ladies that make the babies. Y'all recall that lyric yesterday? And if we don't, we'll have a race of lady. I'm sorry, we'll have a race. We'll become a race of babies. Am I saying that right? I think we'll become a race of babies that hate the ladies who make the babies. There we go. And we have babies making babies who hate themselves, and therefore have to hate where they came from, because we don't respect, or we think mama's replaceable. What's his face? Charleston White. So then that's exactly where we are now. Pac was right. Come on, that's what we say. What's changed? How you doing? Is it Trey Lay? Please forgive me. Trey Lean? I'm not sure how to say it. Please forgive me. Trey Lean, something. I think I'm in the ballpark. Please forgive me. Right? Welcome. But we become a race of babies that hate the ladies that make the babies. Right? Mama is replaceable in our eyes. Matter of fact, mama needs to be replaceable, because I can't admit Sammy Sosa doesn't do what he does if mama's not replaceable. Lil Kim doesn't do what she does if mama's not replaceable. Right? Anyway, who else talking about? Charleston White. Charleston White thought he was doing something special. And of course, a lot of us sitting up there applauding this foolishness, where he comes out recently and talks about how he told his mama from when he was young that he was never gonna put his seed. This is what he said. I'm just saying how he spoke. Sisters, please, no disrespect meant for me. I'm giving you what he said, okay? All right. Charleston White comes out on some mess talking about some. Oh yeah, that's why I told my mama that I was never gonna put my seed in no black woman. I was looking for a woman, the nothing in nature, nothing about human beings Nobody's hair rises up against gravity, against the laws of gravity, except a black woman. In other words, saying that nobody is rising up against men except black women. You got to start changing the laws of nature. See, without natural affection, you got to start changing the laws of nature to hate yourself and hate your mama that much. You hate your mama that much? You hate who your mama be that much? It's a self hate thing. They've been taught to hate anything that is close to the Negro. Negro being, if you know, Negro being a nation. Hashtag we be the nation. You're taught to hate anything that brings you close to that nationality, and that's scriptural. You gotta hate anything with Negroid features, so you learn to hate yourself. Brothers, this is why one of the well, not the coldest, I don't know, I'll say it like that. One of the coldest scriptures to ever be invented is, not invented, excuse me. One of the coldest scriptures to ever be inspired, to ever be breathed out of the mouth of Yah, written by the hand or out of the mouth of Paul, and written by his hand, actually, I believe, is Ephesians chapter 5. Right? No, Ephesians chapter 5. Then you start, right, where it says, and persons don't want to hear this, it says, no man has ever hated his own flesh, but he loves and cherishes it. If you hate your wife, it's because you hate you. Now we're talking about in kingdom. A lot of y'all have been taught a lot of the stuff that leads you up to a place like that, right? But if you're gonna mistreat your wife, it's usually because you hate something about you. So it's the same thing. If you hate something about your husband, usually it's because you hate something about you. Something that wasn't done correctly, and we trying to figure out how to take it out on somebody else who actually is there for us. I've done it before. And you do some evaluations and you realize, like, what is this place? Like, what is this? I had anger issues before she came in my life. So it's not just that I'm angry at her. I get angry. At one point in my life, I get angry because it's a Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be like, oh, she did this and it makes me angry. I got anger issues before I knew who she was. Right? And some of us be trying to put this stuff on others. I be hearing arguments when I do marital coaching and stuff, and persons go back and forth, and I'll be sitting up there listening sometimes, and I go, oh, okay, I can tell that this has nothing to do with what's going on here. And I start asking questions. Hey, tell me about your mom. Tell me about your daddy. Sure enough, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why you expect blah blah, and you're expecting them to fill a void. And when I asked them to tell me in front of the other person, it's interesting. A lot of times the other person, they start looking and they're like, oh, I never knew that. And I'm sitting there saying, y'all been married, 5, 10 years, and you never knew that blah blah. But we don't even think, hey, this is hatred going towards parenting. This is parenting, the effect of parenting or lack thereof. How you doing, living word? Like there's a disconnect, because somebody who is parented properly, especially kingdom wise, right, especially Israel wise, especially biblically, this stuff shouldn't even be showing up. I hear it. I already see it. Okay. Anyways, my apologies though. Right? Well, I'm not apologizing. Just took a little hiatus. But yeah, so he said, ain't a woman alive that can take my mama's place. That should be our mindset. Who gonna take the place of your mama? And even right? And by the way, we're not gonna flip this either. Well, you know what? I'm gonna just leave that there. And a woman alive that can take my mama's place. Suspended from school and scared to go home. I was a fool with the big boys breaking all the rules. Right? And by the way, that's a lack of having a father figure in your life. And I'm sorry, is it Queen Lala? Please forgive me if I didn't say so. Shalom or peace earlier. Please forgive me. But yeah, a lot of stuff, or we trying to be about our friends and this and that, because once again, our friends begin to replace mama. Or we need somebody to replace that lack of father figure in the home. Right? I like the next part. I shed tears with my baby sister. Over the years, we was poorer than other little kids. And even though we had different daddies, the same drama, when things went wrong, we blame mama. Right? So even though we had different daddies, there's only one mama that's gonna catch it from all of us, and we gonna blame mama because we ain't got daddy to blame it on. Meanwhile, mama is doing everything she can on her own. Right? I reminisce of the stress I caused. It was hell. Hugging on my mama from a jail cell. That's something that still happens to this day too. This is 31 years ago. How much has changed? Right? And this one right here, this one kind of hits me every time. I'm always surprised when people don't react to this one the way I do. It's music, by the way. You don't have to. I'm just saying in my head. I'm always like, everybody gonna hear this lyric and it's gonna mess with them. But when he said, and who thought of elementary? Hey, I'd see the penitentiary one day, right? Who thought of elementary one day? Hey, I'd see the penitentiary. Which, by the way, that's prison the pipeline before we called it a thing. Before we were saying, I don't know when they started saying prison the pipeline, but Pop was saying 31 years ago. In elementary, who thought I'd see the penitentiary? The system knew, I see you. Yeah, and that's all you can do too. If you have a child that's, um, you know, um, I won't talk about my business on here per se, but I know what it is to be on the side where I wasn't allowed. That also being said, there's tons of times where fathers ain't trying to be there and ain't nothing and never want to be nothing, or mothers, for that matter, right? Yeah, so all we can do is be what we're supposed to be, righteous and still raise them correctly. And yeah, truth is truth. It will be revealed. And children are smart. They're hurt, but they're intelligent. And even when they're railing on us, a lot of times they're railing on us because that's their way of trying to figure out information, you know. But it will reveal itself. You said the system did because it built it that way for sure, right? But Pac is telling us 31 years ago, he's saying, hey, it was hell hugging on my mama from a jail cell. But who knew, right? Right? Who knew in elementary? Hey, one day I'd see the penitentiary one day, right? I'm sorry, where am I? Oh, over the year. I'm sorry, sorry. Okay, running from the police. That's right. Mama catch me, put a whoop into my backside, and I love this part right here. And even though you was a crack fiend, this is systemic too. And even though you was a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama. Can I say something? Because we often talk about what crack did as far as to the fathers, and it did a whole lot of damage. Yes, a whole lot of damage. And we talk about what crack did to uh, it's always interesting to the men who sold the dope. Matter of fact, we celebrated. Freeway Ricky Ross celebrated so much that Rick Ross took his name, right? And we loved him for it. How you doing, Sister Beverly? Shalom. Um, you know, something. Yeah, I feel you, Sister Sage. Hang in there. It's tough. There's days that it's better, there's days that it's not. It's part of who we are, literally. Part of who we are, right? And what makes us, you know. And my fault, maybe I should have said trigger warning for this before we went through it because it's tough. Catch me on the right day. You guys have seen me on days where I'm torn up about my mama. It's tough. It's tough. This is just one of those days. I guess it's not meant for the crying, but it's still tough. But yeah, you see how I don't think we talk about this a lot. We talk about how the men were affected, and they were. The fathers were affected, taken out the home. They were in prison. Yes, they were. We talk about the drug dealers, but we lift them up for some reason. We forget when somebody says they selling dope, or they selling crack, or they moving rocks, or they moving bricks, or all this different stuff that people talking about, heroin and all this stuff. Yo, these cats poison our community. Now, I said yesterday I'm learning how to be a little softer in this because I also know that these persons were products of products of the systems they were in, and I have to lay off a little bit because I recognize that many of them were taking care of bills and taking care of business, and that's what they thought they were supposed to do. You said lost yours at 19 still hurts. Yeah, basically the same age as me. Pretty much same. Yeah, same age. Yeah. Might not even been 19 yet. I don't know. I had to go look. Now, I'll be forgetting the year, but yeah, I know the age was like 18, 19, one of them. But yeah, we don't. It was 19, so yeah, same age. Anyways, excuse me. We don't talk about, and when we talk about our sisters who were on crack and still are, when we talk about crackheads, karakuda, stuff like that, and there's choices, yeah, for sure, right? One of the things we always do though is we always talk about, the ones we always look at them at their worst, like as far as, oh yeah, look at her, she's in the streets. She's for the streets. She's in the prostitution. She's going to the trap house. She'll do anything. She'll leave her baby here. She'll blah blah. Meanwhile, there's brothers who lost NASA jobs famously, right, and kept smoking. Meanwhile, there's guys who are white who are ending up on the street and stuff like that, scratching themselves, and they used to be engineers and stuff too. But for whatever reason, with our sisters, we never really think about, whose mama is that. We don't really have empathy for that. Whose mama is that? Whose daughter is that? I remember seeing there was. I remember in D.C. I had to like, and I was homeless at the time. I had to get something together and just be like, I can't have y'all coming around here anymore. It was they used to come right there where the Wizards play, um, right there Capitol Center or whatever that where the Caps play to. Same thing, and it used to be back in the day. You go downstairs and they had the Bed Bath and Beyond. I don't know what they got there now, but where the movie theater is and all that. I don't know if all the stuff is still there. And they had Starbucks was right there, and all that stuff was there. If you know what I'm talking about in DC, Seventh and H. That's where the Hebrew Israelites preach right there on Seventh and H. All that. And then you right that next to the National Mall, all that stuff right there, and OK Library, et cetera, et cetera. That was, my experience. That was my stomping ground for a minute. But they would come through, and it would be a crackhead. That's what we call it. Please forgive me. A woman dealing with issues, right? On cocaine, if you will. Verizon Center, thank you. And it would be a woman on drugs, pregnant, which was not necessarily unseen, but she also had a child with her, and I was like, and I was homeless, but I was like, I can't take it no more. Figured out, put some money together, and was like, hey, y'all need to go somewhere better than this. I can't. Y'all, I was like, y'all can't come back here, right? And it wasn't just me. It was a few of us that just got tired of it. But I was just saying, like, y'all, I can't deal with this. Seriously, like I can't function looking at y'all like this. They should do something to us like that, but we don't even think like whose mother is that, whose daughter is that. Persons who take advantage of persons such as that. You're scumbags. We have to have like a situation where we literally begin to be like, we can't, we can't do that. We should do it with our men too. I'm focusing on our mamas today, but I mean, just like and you should be called out for that. You should be called out for that. That girl that's hurting so much for whatever, she walks up to you and you can see that her life is whatever, and you can see blah blah, and you use her for a cheap whatever because you think she's just a piece of property. It's not even property, but something you can own for $20 for a whole night. Like you're disgusting. You're disgusting. And I don't care. Believe me or not, I I could have done that to them girls myself. Never did. Check out Waukegan, Illinois, Zion, Illinois, not that far from Chi-Town. Check out Great Lakes, not the Great Lakes boot camp because I went there, but Great Lakes and how they live over in Great Lakes in that same area. I used to work through in there all times of night, all times of rising. In trucks and stuff like that, could have easily have whatever. Promise you, you get all types of people offering you this, that, blah, blah, from drugs to women to da, da, whatever. You got to be strong enough to say no. Believe me or not, I'm telling you, right? I'm not telling you this stuff as somebody, whatever. And I'm not saying I'm here to look down upon you. I'm saying if you are doing that, you're greater than that, and they're greater than that. That's somebody's mama. That's somebody's sister. If I ever look, if I ever saw, I'm not even gonna speak that. Person say you're not supposed to speak stuff over your family. I'm gonna just say this: if I ever saw somebody doing something like that to somebody that I love, I might kill somebody. I got this cut for a reason. I carry machetes around. I might take somebody's life. I don't want to speak. I'm not supposed to speak over my family. That's what somebody told me. But I'm just saying, somebody I love, and I might even know what's going on. But I come and I see it for myself. When I see it, I don't know how I'm gonna act because that's okay. All right. So yeah, but I feel like we forget that part. And I love the fact that he said, yo, and even though you was a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama. And I know what queen means, right? We just talk about within context today, right? Within song. He said, yeah, even when you was there, even when I know you was out, who know, you might have been doing some of that stuff. But guess what? As far as I'm concerned, you always was royalty. I see you, big bro. Hopefully you guys are doing well. You know what I'm saying? And we gotta have, but that's what I'm saying. There needs to be an environment where that's the case. See, those of you, I don't know, some of you will be coming on and off. Some of y'all eventually will be living there 24/7, whatever. However many, hopefully it's within, 5 to 10 years at the most, or whatever, where everything will be flowing, to where people can like decide if they want to be there for extremely long periods of time, and sustained and stuff, and be able to use it to flip other things and stuff like that. And hopefully by then we'll even have other spots that are developing and stuff like that around the world. But long story short, if you come to these places, you need to know that this is why before we have everybody live together and come back together, and as everybody's gathering back as the word says we are, you got to make sure that persons get their mind right, because we can't come back and you still think that you're supposed to have women being used as property, because you'll start treating these women as property, and somebody like me that's going to be living there too is going to say, oh, no, we got to take your life. You need to run away and hope that you get to the police. I'm going to call the police. And hopefully they get here before I get to you. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up. Because some of y'all are coming in with some garbage mentality and are getting mad at sisters, telling them that they this, or telling us that we simps because we protect women, and because we believe that, hey, that's somebody's mama. Even if she is a crack fiend, she's a black queen. Shut up. Or for our sisters of other persuasion today who are on with us too, and even if she is a crack fiend, she could be a white queen. Right? I'm just saying, right? We know what the lyrics are, who they talking about. How you doing, Laquan Audrey? Right? But even if she is, even if she is out there, she's with us. Somebody just asked about Q&A the other day about that sister that got messed over by that guy. I forget what chapter and verse now. But, we went over like 3 chapters 19, 20, and 21. I can't recall which book it is. Is it one of the? Is it one of the crown? Is it Judges? Judges 19 through 21, I think it is. In those days, Israel had no king. Yeah. So Judges 19 through 21 or whatever. Something like that. So we went through that sister, and it says that there was a Levite who was used as a concubine, which means that he's already jacked up. He's already doing stuff he's not supposed to. Treated her as property. Got her. Her father was jacked up. Her father was a weirdo. He was a weirdo. The person that they were with was a weirdo. Then these people came. They gave him away so that they wouldn't have to, get R-worded themselves as men. And they tried to offer up another young girl. They only took the concubine of the Levite. And then after she was used, abused, and probably is dead at this point, and if not, is basically hanging on to life at the threshold. He takes her and then chops her into pieces and gives her all this stuff or whatever. But guess what? Started the whole war. And a lot of y'all will be like, well, she was a concubine. Some of y'all men still today would have a mindset, well, she was a concubine and she was a Levite. No, Levites aren't supposed to have concubines. Right? Number one. And number two, it started a whole war because a whole bunch of other persons said, yo, that's unholy. I don't care who she is, what you think she is, or what you blah, blah. They ain't know somebody so low that you just treat them whatever. And they came to fight on her behalf. She's one of us. Who cares if she's out there doing whatever right now? She's one of us. Y'all got this weird philosophy where, once again, you think mama and them, because they want hard times, are replaceable. No, she's one of us. Now, she keeps pushing us away, blah, blah, so be it. But we're not going to just let anybody come in here and do whatever to our sister. And if you do that, you're a coward. Yeah, I said it. Tell them I said it. You have to tell them exactly tell them exactly what the virtual address is, and tell them what time I'll be back. And I'm sorry. How you doing, old 11? And thank you for being part of the community. How you doing? I don't know if I'm saying this right. Soldi. I'm not sure how to say it. How you doing, Tabitha? Once again, thank y'all for the love. Right? Yeah, we're gonna preach the cities. We're gonna do what we do. Right? But that's cowardice. Let somebody come and jack your sister up, jack your mama up. No, I don't know. That's it. You might be a crack fiend mama. You always was a black queen. Hey, you might have done some wrong things to me. You might have been a drunk mama, but you did the best you could. Hey, you know what, mama? You might have abused me. You might have slapped me around too much. But you know what? I see now that I've become an adult and I'm dealing with some things and I'm trying to come out of it or whatever. I'm gonna help you to heal. You know what, mama? Maybe you weren't there as much for me, but now that I got to take care of you, you know what? I've learned to love you. I've learned not only to forgive, but I've learned to trust and I've learned to let go. Because that's mama. All right. He said, I finally understand. And I love this part because then he makes it a point to let you know why she even got on the drugs. He said, I finally understand. For a woman, it ain't easy trying to raise a man. How you doing, second? He said, I finally understand. For a woman, it ain't easy trying to raise a man. You're trying to do this on your own. And she got 3 children. The third of which, right, he had a sister and a brother. The brother became a crack baby because she had him while she was on drugs. He says, but I get it now. It's not easy. I get it. Right? You always was committed. Now look at here. He's gonna say, I'm gonna give you some positive too. You always was committed. A poor single mother on welfare. Tell me how you did it. Dollar out of 15 cents. Right? There's no way I could pay you back. But the plan is to show you that I understand. You are appreciated. Right? Y'all know the chorus. Lady, right? Don't you know we love you, sweet. Y'all know the chorus. All right. Place no one above you, sweet lady. Don't you know we love you? You are appreciated. All right. Now, second verse. Now, ain't nobody tell us it was fair. No love from my daddy because the coward wasn't there. I'm going to just read this lyric because straight up, right? That's how he felt. Who knows if this was 100% how things got there? But this is why you have to be careful, fathers and mothers, when coming together, because these babies, right, we affect them. Look at this. Look at this line. This is powerful. Now, or these lines, these bars. Now, ain't nobody tell us it was fair. No love from my daddy because the coward wasn't there. He passed away and I didn't cry because my anger wouldn't let me feel for a stranger. They say I'm wrong and I'm heartless. But all along, I was looking for a father, he was gone. Those first 3 bars, or well, some of y'all count a bar. Well, I don't know. I count, it actually should be 6 bars. Hold on. Ain't nobody, I gotta count the music in my head. Ain't nobody tell us it was fair. My love for my daddy because the cow wasn't there. He passed away and I didn't cry. He passed away and I didn't cry because my anger wouldn't let me feel for a stranger. They say I'm wrong and I'm heartless, but all along I was looking for my father. He was gone. Okay, so 6 bars, right? If you don't know what a bar is, people be trying to argue about what bars are. Technically, a bar is supposed to be every 4 beats. Usually, rap songs are going to usually be 4 beats per whatever. But also too, if you know music, think 4/4. Every bar is literally a bar. Right? That's what, so when somebody says they got bars, that's what it actually is. A music. It's actually a conversation within musicality, right? But when he's saying this, he says, "Now ain't nobody tell us it was fair. No love from my daddy because the coward wasn't there." He says, "No love from my daddy because he says, and he talks about fathers like this all throughout his life, all throughout every song. He says, no love from my daddy because he's a coward. He said when he passed away, and he passed away when Pac was young. When his father passed away, he didn't cry. They showed up to the funeral, but didn't cry Not because he didn't need the release. He said, I'm too angry, right? My anger wouldn't let me feel for a stranger. And guess what Pac said was dealing with when he had the song, Anger. When you still like, you a coward, you were this and you were that, but and he's saying, I'm still upset with you. Long story short, right? Then he says, and all I was looking for a father, right? But he was gone. They said at the funeral, they said because of how I feel, I'm wrong and I'm heartless. But think about it on my perspective. That's what he's saying. Think about me. Think about the child in me that still is looking for a father. He gone. Now he gone. But I was looking. All I did was be born and do what every little boy wants to do and see himself in a man. And that ain't no perverted stuff. That ain't no Paul stuff. That ain't no Diddy stuff. That's some real stuff. Like every little boy, I promise you, I try to be so careful about what I say to my son. Right, all three of them. I try to be so careful, and my daughters too. Right, especially my sons in this regard. I try to make sure I'm very careful what I say to them boys, or what I don't say to them boys, because um, I know that they look to me to see if they're doing what men do. Even if they don't talk to me, even the older ones don't talk to me for a while. Every once in a while, they circle back with questions, or they circle back with certain things, or they circle back with, hey, blah, blah. They circle back to see if they're doing something right, or they even watch some of the stuff I'm talking about, even if they don't discuss it with me, because, hey, that's what I'm supposed, that's, you see what I'm saying? There's little boys who watch, who are not my sons in the flesh, but my sons in the spirit. And a lot of them still be looking to be like, hey, what's Pastor Kofi doing? Is he actually saying this? Is he blah blah? When they meet me in person, when we were at the place where when I was outside too long in the sun, it wasn't even that. I was doing the thing. I didn't think about that. I was on the concrete, so I had the water that was reflecting the sun. I had the concrete that was reflecting the sun back up. So that's what actually happened to me. I wasn't under the tree. I thought since the sun wasn't directly hitting me, I was fine. I was not. but there were little boys who don't look like me, by the way. Happened to be around the place. We were at the RV camp. How you doing, Jose? And thank you for being part of the community. And these little boys stopped, got off their bike, and they listening to the word for hours. I'm not like little boys, 13, 14, 11, 10, 9, little girls stopping. If you notice, there was a little girl that came through a couple times and almost got too close to the equipment, right? Because there was a little thing that they like to ride on, and she decided she wanted to get there by coming past me or whatever. Hey, whatever, it's their spot more so. It's everybody's spot. It's not just one person. But like we were, but these little children, they wanted to stop, and they heard me talking about the word. They heard me talking about things in the word. And so I realized that in that moment, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on there. And even their parents came through. They were like, "Oh, we got a situation with one of your brothers and sisters. Go ahead, blah blah." They didn't even say anything. They just let them sit there and listen to the word. There's times when we go places, person start listening to the word. There's times when I'm meeting, when I'm going, when we were in the deed last time, and when we go over, probably be a little bit of that again. Where little boys knew that I was going to be up, and they come outside and they get ready to play. Y'all would hear them playing in the background, but a lot of times they would stop what they were doing. They would sit down, they listen to the word. Right? Their grandparents got them really into the word too. But I'm just saying, like, you have to recognize that there's these they be looking up to us. And Pac says, I was doing what every little boy does. I want to see what's the measuring stick. And I was looking for the measuring stick of manhood. And every time I was looking for it, you were gone. He was like, so you can call me wrong and heartless. And I might even say, hey man, you forgiveness. Even if you don't trust yet, forgiveness. But still, hey, I understand if I I I can I can empathize, but only so much. Because even with my father and I not seeing each other that much because of his work schedule, I still had a father I could look up to. That's why, if nothing else, I will always carry my father's work ethic. If nothing else, because I saw that man work 2.5 jobs, make sure his wife was straight, make sure that he loved it to death, did imparted, certain things in his son, who he had to kind of raise almost like his grandson because of how far behind he was from his older siblings. And I saw him do that over and over again. Like there's certain things that no matter what, like I will always have that in me because I saw it. Even if I didn't get to speak some of the stuff, even if I didn't get to have conversations about the Most High, even if there's certain things to where I still feel like, man, I wish we had done this, blah blah. I wish we had more time. He showed me like, hey, there's reasons I don't have that. That being said, like you can see. You know, even when I became older and he put his hand on my shoulder, he didn't even say anything. He just saw I was raising my family. He put his hand on my shoulder. That was an indication from him letting me know you, that's what men do. He didn't have to say anything. Just I need, you know, the really as fathers, one of the biggest things that we have is that we are measuring sticks and we are right and literally we are rulers. Can I say it like that? For those of you who haven't been with us before when we talked about this, a canon is just a way of rule or a ruler. If, the reason why you call a king a ruler, we have King of Kings, Lord of Lords. The reason why he is our ruler is because he literally is what we use to measure. If I were to tell you to pull out a ruler and measure something, if I were to tell all of you at home to go find a ruler, right? Most of us have a ruler or some kind of something that we can use as a measuring stick, right? If we go and grab it, the trust is that whatever you have in your house as a rule is what I have in my house as a rule. So if I say I need you to measure out 5 inches, you should be able to measure out 5 inches, and the same 5 inches would be. It doesn't matter if you're in Florida, doesn't matter if you're in Ohio, does not matter if you're in New York, it doesn't matter if you're in California, does not matter if you're in Detroit, doesn't matter if you're wherever, right? You will be able to measure the same thing if you're in New York. If I say I need you to measure out 30 centimeters, right? You know 12 inches. You know that it's a standard rule no matter what. That's right, it's universal. It's integrated. It's a way of having integrity, right? Bringing us together, that there's one way of rule. There's one Lord, one faith, one baptism, right? Men love to have one rule. Little boys love to have one rule. This is why if you will see little boys flip out on you if they thought you told them to do something and then you say you told them to do something different and they're like, but you told me before, and you'll get upset with them. But hear me, just hear them out. These little boys are trying to say you told me because they're looking for rules. That's why boys love games with rules. You can say they like games, sure. In every game that they play, they need to know what's the rules. I promise you. If they play football, there's rules. There's 100 yards. Doesn't matter what football field you play on. There's 100 yards, right? There's. This is what a catch is. This is what this is what pass interference is. Okay, if you're playing basketball, hey, this is what carrying is, right? Are we playing street? Are we playing this? Are we doing this? We need to know what is. Tell me what it is, because if I score a touchdown, but then you kick the goalpost down as I'm reaching out, right? I wouldn't have tried to reach out. I would have kept on running or kept on giving effort. But if you kick the goalpost as I'm moving and tell me no, it's actually 5 yards longer, that's when men start losing their mind. If you notice, one of the things that men get heated on in these games they watch is the referees. Why? Because if the referee's not, at least if the man's taking this, the referee's not following the rules, he gets upset because there's got to be a rule. There's got to be a ruler. There's got to be a way of doing things. This is why we follow Yah, because he cannot change. Whatever he sets, if he says that's 2 feet, that's 2 feet. If he says that's marriage, that's marriage. If he says that's male, that's male. If he says that's female, that's female. If he says that's love, that's love. If he says that's hate, that's hate. And he doesn't go back on it. Right? So, he says, I was looking for my daddy. He said, you can say that I'm mean, you can say I'm heartless, but all along I was looking for my father, he was gone. All along, I was looking for this man. I was looking for rule. Every little boy, every child likes rule, but every little boy loves rule because you know why? In him, he knows at some point he must become the ruler. He doesn't even know how to articulate it yet. But that's why mamas, when you notice these little boys, they start pushing you a little bit. They're pushing you because something in them saying. That's why fathers know. Fathers have this moment where we know we might not have to fight. Hopefully we don't have to fight our boys, but we know there will be some kind of serious, we got to get in their face moment, and we be waiting on it because we know that in them they have it to where they think that they got a rule, and it's like, but you're not the ruler of this house. I'm training you to rule your own house. So, right, but mamas, if you notice, these little boys, they will push. Little girls do it a little later, right? But little boys will start young. If you get them correct young, they won't do it when they get older. They'll just wait until they have their own. But they'll start young. They'll start trying to figure out what can I put, and you got to be there to let them know. No, 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 no. You're not in charge. This is how we do it. This is why we do it. We're not moving from it. You said your son 6'5". He tried. Hey, I'm just saying. I tried to step up to my father, and I was dead wrong, by the way. Right? I tried to step up to him and mistreated my mother. And he came and reminded me, it's not your mother, it's my wife. Got in my face. And then when I thought I was going to put my chest up and buck up, because I was about 6'4" at the time. I've grown a little bit since then, but I was, still tall, taller than him. He reminded me, you ain't ready, and put his hand through my chest. Right? And y'all say that's abuse. He letting me know there's one rule. There's one rule here. I gotta let you know, there's one rule. Now, fathers, you don't provoke your children to wrath. So don't have them fighting you because you're doing bad things. Right? Well, that's what it felt like. It felt like you as a carpenter would have had to rebuild my chest. That's what it felt like at the time. I couldn't breathe for about 25 years, but I've recovered recently. But I'm just saying, right? So watch the next thing. So after he says, I was looking for my father, he was gone. What's the next thing he says? He says, so I hung around the thugs. Why did he hang around the thugs? Because he needed somebody to show him what rules were. Right? His mama, by the way, is what? Amen, Sister Mignon. His mama, by the way, is dealing with drugs. Him and his sisters dealing with poverty. He hanging out with these dudes who he's trying not to do stuff with, but he started all of a sudden hanging out with. And now, hey, he needs something, so what are you going to do? It says, hey, look what he says. He says, hey, and even though they sold drugs, they showed a young brother love. Now, that love, to be fair, if those of you who know how love in the street work, could sometimes be questionable, right? As far as how much they really love you. But hey, I ain't got the love of a father. I'm going to find it somewhere else. By the way, love of men is becoming so crazy and so unnatural, right? To find men, to find fathers that actually love their children and love them righteously, then that's why some of these brothers be trying to find love in any way, shape, form they can. And some of the perverted ways that we don't like to talk about, but need to be talked about a little bit more. But they're finding it because they had never had the love of a man. Do you know there's little boys that have never just had their father come up and be like, love you, son. And I don't care if y'all call me whatever. I kiss my son on his forehead in front of all of y'all. Love you. Never had that. Some of them, if you say the kiss is too much, because some of y'all on some whatever, right? I love my son. I tell my son several times. I tell my sons several times a day. Yeah, I love you. Love you, boy. Thank you for being in my life. Yeah, I tell them that. Yeah. Hey, son, don't get upset just because I told you that you did something wrong. It doesn't mean that I don't love you no more. I still love you. I just need you to do that better. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And tell anybody else that I love them. But when you don't, yeah, you start looking for love in different places. In all the wrong places, as the song said. So he said, I moved out and started really hanging. I needed money of my own, so I started slanging. I ain't guilty because even though I sell rocks, it feels good putting money in your mailbox. And this is the part that, like I said yesterday, it made me have to step back a little bit and realize why a lot of persons have to do some of this stuff. He said, I love paying rent when the rent's due. And I told y'all, until a couple days ago when I started hearing these songs over and over, Holy Spirit just said, nope, listen excuse me, listen to it again. Watch this person's reaction. See how this person reacts to it. See why this mother says this. See why this woman says this. See how da. But I kept watching and listening and watching and listening and watching and listening and reading lyrics and watching and listening. And I had never really caught this until uh, Wednesday. I had never caught this where he says, I had probably heard it, but I'm just saying I never really, it never stood out to me. But he said, I love paying rent when the rent's due. And it got me to go, oh man, like we be getting on these guys, but he literally saying one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I love. He said I'm never like you don't be hearing thugs in rap. In rap. This is kind of a one off. I don't know if I've ever really heard somebody be like, I love paying rent when the rent's due and putting that in a hip hop song. A lot of cats think that's corny. Pop says, no, 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 no. I was out there slanging, and I love paying rent. Like I'm doing stuff wrong. He even said, I ain't guilty because I sell rocks. Even though I sell rocks. Right? So this is how he even rapped it. He said, I moved out. It started really hanging. I needed money of my own, so I started slanging. I ain't guilty because even though I sell rocks, it feels good putting money in your mailbox. I love paying rent when the rent's due. And when he said that, damn. I said, like, yeah, who does it? And I know people don't. One of the things as a man, I kind of hate it because it means money leaving my pocket, but I love it. Is when I'm able to be, they're like, I paid that bill. That's that like what I'm saying. You can read me a scripture. Sometimes paying the bill, and that sounds wild for some, right? I'm not saying I told you it's a love hate thing. I hate the fact that I'm paying bill. A lot of times paying bills on stuff that should be free anyways. But the fact that when I pay a bill, I don't know if I pay any bills that are not for somebody else. I'm not saying that they don't take care of me too. But hear what I'm saying? I don't know any bill that I pay that's not for somebody else. I don't think there's anything in my life that I do, right? Like, if there's a gym bill, the gym bill covers folks. You know what I'm saying? There's something about when I know for sure that anywhere in the country, if somebody in my family said, I want to go to the YMCA, they can go. There's something about that. That's like, come on, that's stewardship, staying on top of it. You know what I'm saying? When Pac said that, it hit different this time for the first time. I never really, like, and maybe when I first heard the song, I'm a child. I don't pay no bills. You know what I'm saying? But maybe as I've gotten older and I got more mature, I'm like, that's a shout right there. You know what I'm saying? Somebody could make a shout song and just say my bills are paid. If somebody made a shout song and just said my bills are paid, I would shout. You know what I'm saying? Right? He said your husband be on top of bills and never knew what breathing felt like until what you oh that's an amazing thing to say about your husband, sister say. Praise God. That's right. Yeah. Being able to pay, and that's what it is too. Being able to pay, right? Like being able to pay for generations to be able to do things, to see things. You know, um, I paid for persons who passed away. When I go somewhere, they get to go with me, and they can see things. There's things that like, some of the persons that traveled with me before had never left their city before, and they got to experience things. The others and persons who travel with me. A lot of the travel we do is first for us. Even if it's in the same areas, we're going to do stuff for the first time, or even stuff that we're doing, embarking on for the community, and having persons in the community seeing things and doing things that they haven't, or even the teaching that we do, or even if we're able to give somebody something. But yeah, it's a first. I mean, it does something for me. It does something for me when it's like, you know, one of my children was like, oh, I'd like to be able to do something, and it's like, well, let's just do something. Here you go, do something and go and do that for fun. Right? There's something about that as a man. And so when Pac said that about his mama, I was like, man. And then when he was slanging, he was doing this, and we have to make sure we demonize that part of it. But I also recognize, especially if that's the situation and things that are going through, I'm starting to get a little softer on that. That's why we had to change the environment. Right? But this man wasn't saying, hey, I'm out here doing blah, blah, this so I can have it. Yeah, they be flossing and stuff, which, by the way, he said, did you get the diamond necklace that I sent to you? That's the next lyric. So, he did some of that, but he said, "Hey, Mama, I want you to have things that you never had, and Mama, I want to make sure that your stuff is taken care of. I want you to know I appreciate." And he says this. He says, "Because when I was low, you was there for me, and never left me alone because you cared for me. And I could see you coming home after work late. You're in the kitchen trying to fix us a hot plate. You just working with the scraps you was given. And Mama made miracles every Thanksgiving. But now the road got rough. You were alone. You're trying to raise two bad kids on your own. And there's no way I can pay you back. But my plan is to show you that I understand. You are appreciated." And that part is crucial for me, because that part's crucial for me. I love that he says that he does it a lot in some of his songs. Kind of repeat what he's saying before he gets ready to go out. But I like, especially at this time in his writing. But I really, really love this part, because I like how he says that he circles back to that at the end of everything. There's no way I can pay you back, but my plan is to show you that I understand. See, I told you I had no waterworks for my mama yet. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. My mom has not been with me for over a quarter of a century now, and it doesn't feel like that. When I say it, it's I don't. It seems like that time. It's a fresh. It's as fresh as these mosquito bites out here. How you doing, Sister Sheena? But as fresh as as fresh as it feels, it's been 25 years. I don't even know how, like, when they say time flies, literally. Whenever I think about my mother's passing, I don't really remember much except for her passing. That's that's kind of how it works. It's weird. You'll go back to this place where you're still hurting, you still need to be healed. Um, but we gonna finish. We still gotta read through this third verse. We gonna finish. But I say that to say I I I do so much still as if like she's there, and I still be hoping. This is why I like having mother figures in your life is important, because I still be hoping and just being like, man, I hope she would be proud of this. And I know that there's a possibility that she's just asleep waiting for y'all. I'm not even gonna take that away. I'm just saying, still, the way my brain works, every once in a while, at least once a day, is I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, would mama be okay with this? Would my mother say that that's acceptable? Even if she didn't agree with everything coming out of my mouth, would she say, I like the way that you went about doing it? Right? And I love the way Pop does that. There's no way I could pay you back. But my plan is to show you that I understand. How do we do that? The only way I can do that is by my actions, by my honoring you, right? By my love for you. Honoring my parents is the thing that guarantees long life. That's my plan. There's no way I can pay you back. The only thing I say, my plan is to show you that I understand, that I'm under the standard that you taught me. That's my plan. My plan. I can't. Even if she was alive, there's no way I can give you money for my life. My life is can't be paid for. You therefore sacrificing, putting your life on the line that I would be here, can't be paid for. There's no way I could pay you back. And if what's funny, my mom would probably say something along the lines of, the way that you would pay me back is taking what I told you to to the levels that I see, because your mothers can always see more in you than you can. She's still preaching. um, y'all came. All right, let me get. But there's no way I can pay you back. But my plan is to show you that I understand. You said your mom told you that today? Yeah. Yeah, there's no way I can pay you back. But my plan is to show you that I understand. My plan is to show you that I see now what you and even with that, I see now what you did, why you went through the bad things, why you couldn't be here, sickness and stuff. Like I didn't understand when you fell down all of a sudden in 1988. I know the year. Why you all of a sudden fell down, 1988. And then why you came, after you fell down, you came back home crying and you were trying to play with me, but you couldn't and you had to go to the room. And eventually, all of a sudden, by 1990, you falling again, 91, 92, 91, 91. You're falling down steps. We got to move to where you can go ahead and come straight out in the wheelchair all of a sudden in 92. And see you start losing your mind and stuff like that. You're screaming and stuff. And I'm thinking that, this and that. Come to find out you're scared of me. And I'm thinking, like this is the worst experience. Meanwhile, I'm not thinking, that you're trapped and going through stuff in your body that doesn't make sense. You don't deserve it. Um, you're concerned about your children, knowing that you're not going to be around that much. Somehow, some way, you're blocked enough to have a child. In the midst of that, and once you have that child, everything just goes haywire. You don't recognize us after a while, and all that stuff. And then finally, at the end, you recognize me. You tell me all this stuff. I leave, and they tell me that you're dead. I'm like, she was just better how she did. But I realized you came out of that to one more time, let me know that you love me. To speak some kind words over me again. So those lyrics hit different for me. There's no way I could pay you back. But my plan is to show you that I understand. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I'm not trying to do the man thing. We got to finish up. I'll be here all day. But I get them lyrics. You know what I'm saying? I get them. Like every time you get older and you learn more, and sometimes you're crying more because now you understand. Like, oh, like she was giving everything. You know what I'm saying? You thought she gave a lot. You realize she gave a lot. You think, oh, okay, it's a mother, blah blah. No, my plan. Okay, there's no. Oh wow. Every time I learn more about what your sacrifice means, there's no way I could pay you back. But my plan now is just to show you that I understand. And then the part that I love again, you are appreciated. I see the value in you, right? I didn't know. That's why your children, when they get older, mamas, we start saying stuff to you. We start telling you stuff. You had to do this, and you had to do that, and you had to go through this, and you had to blah. Yeah, yeah. Oh wow. There's no way I could pay you back. You ain't had no job and blah blah, and you was on welfare and that. And yeah. We ain't, but we were eating food that wasn't welfare food. Yeah. But you ain't had no job. Yeah, how you make it work? I had to do this, I had to do that. I had to go ask here. I had to blah blah. I had to walk. You know, I had to walk sometimes 3 hours to make sure that you got that up. But I did all that stuff by the time you got from school. You didn't know. Wait a minute. When were you eating? Well, I mean, I ate a little something. Then you start realizing, oh, you weren't eating. There's no way I could pay you back. But my plan is to show you that I understand. Thank you, Bruder. I see you. I appreciate it. I feel it. How you doing, Lonnie? Somebody else came in. I apologize. I missed you coming in. Somebody who's usually on with us. I missed somebody coming in. Forgive me. I saw your name pop up. I can't find you right now. So anyway, uh, yeah, my plan is to show you that I understand. All right. Last verse. Pour out some liquor and I reminisce, right? That libation. That's actually a Hebrew thing, by the way. Pour out some liquor and I reminisce. Because through the drama, I could always depend on my mama. I don't even know if I'm explaining this. This just straight up is what it is. And when it seems that I'm hopeless, you say the words. Now the waterworks are open. I can't turn them off. Ah. When it seems that I'm hopeless, you say the words that can get me back in focus. Even that, I would she'd be like, focus, it's time to close. uh, uh, and when it seems, so pour out some liquor and I reminisce, because through the drama, I can always depend on my mama. And when it seems that I'm hopeless, you say the words that can get me back in focus. And when I was sick as a little kid, to keep me happy, there's no limit to the things you did. And all my childhood memories are full of sweet things you did for me. Like real talk, man. I don't even need to. I'm gonna just read it through at this point, right? And even though I act crazy, that's one of my favorite lyrics. I gotta thank the Lord that you made me. There are no words that can express how I feel. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get myself together. Uh, I gotta think, and even though I act crazy, I gotta thank the Lord that you made me. And there are no words that can express how I feel. You never kept a secret, always stayed real, and I appreciate how you raised me and all the extra love that you gave me. I wish I could take the pain away. If you can make it through the night, there's a brighter day. Everything will be all right if you hold on. It's a struggle every day, gotta roll on. And there's no way I can pay you back. But my plan is to show you that I understand. You are appreciated. So, yeah, it'd be tough. It'd be tough. But it is what it is. And that's why I was saying earlier, I think it was Sister Sage, that's what I was saying earlier, I get it. And I was like, I don't know why it's not time, because normally by now I'd be a mess. Well, I got there. I got there. But, woo child. But yeah. So we didn't make it through the other song. It's okay. I think I would explain it if I did the other song. But yeah, but this is real talk. And once again, 31 years later, has this stuff changed? Right? Us trying to figure out. See, now women are so replaceable, mothers are so replaceable now that all women are women. What does that even mean? Does that literally mean all women, or does that mean all women? Right? That's the lack of respect that we have for that office. If you can't become a mama, and I'm not even trying to say that, I'm not talking about as far as if you've chosen not to or something there. I'm talking about like if your body doesn't even look like it could be designed in any way, shape, or form to provide something like that, like keep your hand off of that position. You know? And I appreciate even persons like Akut Devada. I appreciate you even saying some of the stuff that you said today, because I be feeling like bad or ashamed sometimes. Um, and you shared your age publicly, so I hope I'm not about to upset you or offend you. I know you've said before on here, you were 71, right? About to turn 72 or 70, about to turn 71, something like that. Or am I thinking about double OG, triple OG? All about the same age. But anyways, when you tell me you lost your mother at 19 as well, and you said still at 71 it hits, then that stuff like that is comforting too, because that lets me know like I don't gotta feel bad about missing my mama, right? And some of y'all 72, okay, yeah. So and some of y'all sitting up here trying to act like your parents is gone and you shouldn't feel no, yeah. Especially if they raised you right, especially if they put hours into you like that, especially if it's look. And they would hope that they put enough in you that you would keep on going. But yeah, it ain't nothing wrong with you every once in a while reflecting and being thankful and grateful. And those, but I say this, even if you are having interesting, let's say it like that, it's 11 o'clock, it's time to close. Let us say you're having interesting time with your parents, right? Even if you're somebody having interesting times with your parents, not the greatest of times, I would still ask you and praise you that try your best to honor them as much as you can. Right? You don't have to be a doormat, but try to honor them as much as you can, and take time out to really be in the moment right now. Because I tell you what, when they're not here, you wish. I tell you what, when they're not here, you're gonna wish. Oh, thank you, Chad. I'll say it in a second. I have to be careful saying it out loud, but I'll make sure I say it in a second. Um, it's also on our main page too, but I'll make sure that I say it in a second. But yeah, please. I've been saying this. I say this to persons all the time, especially when I see them disrespecting their parents, especially little children and stuff. And I tell, and people be like, sometimes it's much. I don't think it's too much. They need to know, like, because you never know. I don't want to speak over nobody's parents, but you never know, man. Like, and I knew, according to science, so according to man, I understood and I knew that my mama. Oh wow, that's mm, that's a lot. Sorry to hear that. I knew that my mama. I knew that my mama was going to pass away. Basically, it was, at 6, I didn't really fully get it, but I kind of knew that everybody was crying because she was not supposed to be here. She went way past whatever the guy who had no bedside manner, who basically just said, "Yeah, you have MS. You're probably not going to make it," and then like you have this many years to live, and then walked out and just left her kind of as a crying heap. Uh, um, I wish to this day I knew who he was. Because we have some words. Yeah, I don't care if you're an old man or not. We have some words. But that being said, right? That praise God, she struggled through them, right? But you hear what I'm saying? If I may, in all those different things that were happening and going on, this and that or whatever, and I saw her going from somebody who may have been a little, for some of y'all, big boned or whatever. I thought she was always beautiful no matter what, but that's my mom. Um, but went from that to somebody who, you know, frail, skinny. You were afraid to move her at times, stuff like that. Um, always kept her hair. Her hair stayed. I'm not saying anything bad about somebody who's dealing with that or whatever. I'm appreciative of that. I know that was a thing that was important to her. So the fact that she had her hair when she passed away, I'm always thankful for that. That's one thing I look back at, and no matter at the end, I still see beauty, but I know she was frail. It's interesting. The last time I saw her, especially in spring, and she had tubes down the throat. She was literally hurting herself, whispering stuff with the tube down the throat because she wanted to make sure that I understood that she loved me. So even that, just my mother's strong, but if I can just say this too, man, can I be honest? I know, man. People be talking about we should have faith and we should have this and that, and you should work. Man, it's interesting. I find myself funeralizing my mother like once every few years. Like, it feels like today's a funeral, but it's like it's not. And I'm crying and I'm feeling pain, but it feels like. But it's, you know what I'm saying? It's nice at the same time. I don't know how to describe it. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's. My apologies. I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm really not. Uh, but it's a song about dear mountains, it's one of those songs. If you lost your mama, you about to shed tears or whatever. But I'm just saying, it's ah, man. All right, I'm gonna use a. It's not a bad word, but I'm gonna use a bad. It sucks. for lack for lack of a better term, man, it sucks. That's my defender. That's your first defender. That's your first. It's gonna please mothers. Don't be upset with me. I'm being honest. I'm just being honest. That's your first food. That's your first meal. That's your first taste. That's your first touch. That's your first sense of beauty. That's your first endorphin rush. That's your first confidence. you don't even know enough about taking a step. That's the person that tells you every time you take a step. That's the person that celebrates it like it's the greatest thing. That's the person. That's the first person that when I did something wrong, even if she was disappointed, I knew I'd be okay because if she had made a decision that she had forgiven me, then nobody was gonna put a hand on me. You know what I'm saying? Like she allowed me to get whoopings and stuff like that. But once she decided like, okay, enough is enough, everybody gonna back up off me. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, she was a nurturer. You know, like this is what we got to protect. When we talking about protecting mothers, when we talking about protecting our sisters, we got to design. You know, we got to be in on the design. We got to put in on this. We got to make sure that they're raised like this too. You know, but also too, we got to put an environment together. We got to protect them. We got to make sure, you know, like yes, my mom and I'm talking about a lot of sweet things. My mother had issues, just like Pac's mother had issues. It's not the same issues, but still she had issues, right? But at the end of the day, when I think about her, man, it's really tough for me to even bring up the issues. It's crazy. I know she got issues, but if somebody asks me about my mom, I have to on purpose stop and be like, let me think of negative things to say, because I don't care. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you got a chance to spend time with your parents, spend time with them, man. Like, even if it's tough, I promise you, it's gonna be tougher when you gotta like know you'll never see him again. Even if you gotta roll your eyes, turn your back to them so you can roll your eyes, and then turn your back so they don't see you. But then, but then do what you got. You know what I'm saying? Like I promise you, there's there's I can't say nothing because I'm in the kingdom. I'm not selling my soul or doing nothing crazy. But that being said, there's very few things that I wouldn't be willing to do. I would even say I would give my own life, except my mother would resurrect me to whoop my tail, because she would never want me to do that, and that's not what it's supposed to be, right? We're supposed to allow our children to continue, not us, right? So I would never, you know, I would, even though there's a part of me that would be like, if I give my life, she would live a little longer, but she didn't raise me like this. She wouldn't want me to do that. But there's very few things I wouldn't sin, right? But you see what I'm saying? That being said, there's very few things that I wouldn't do if it meant not for her to even live for the rest of my life, to hear her voice one more time. I'm just telling it to somebody because some of you are sitting up there still disrespecting or thinking that whatever, or thinking blah blah, or thinking our mothers don't need protection, or thinking our women don't need. I promise you, be without your mama for a hot second. It hits different. That's why I'm sitting up here, and I talk about my mother at least 25 times a year. Not even trying to, just because I be on every day. I end up talking about it like 25 times a year in depth, and still, I'm like this. Take time out. If she's alive, your parents are alive, right? Your family's alive, whatever. Right? If there's evil, if there's something involved, if there's something that somebody's forcing you to have to keep a boundary, don't give up your boundary. Don't be a doormat. Hear what I'm saying though? If there's something, and you know what I'm talking about, whoever is listening, this is for you. You know what I'm talking about. Whoever this is for, whoever's heart's being pricked, you know already that you're gonna have to deal with an attitude. You know already, blah blah. Go ahead and deal with it. Go ahead and deal with it, because it's better than the alternative. I promise. All right. Okay. I'm done. For real this time. We do a shout out. Really, it's going to be a brief shout out. I'm just simply going to put up I'm going to just put up the background for you guys. So if you'd like to go ahead and contact us. If you are looking to do somebody ask specifically, now I put this information is in. And thank you for joining us on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok today. This information is on in the description. So if you'd like to be able to just simply look in the description, you can feel free to look in there and get back to us and text us at your earliest convenience. We'll make sure that we get something to you. Oh, okay, you already found it. Okay, thank you, Jose. Appreciate you. Uh-oh. What do I look? I can't find it now. It's got to be here. Hold on. Why is this becoming so tough for me to find? Hold on. Why can I not find this? I don't know. Oh yeah, something's hold on. Sorry. I'm just trying to. I'm just gonna put up the number for you guys to text if I can find it, and then we go ahead and have a great day. Thank you everybody for being on. Okay, there we go. Got it. So thank you again for being on. We appreciate you. Much love unto everybody. Hopefully you got something out of the message. Prayerfully it wasn't too much of blubbering. And we plan on being back in front of you guys later this evening at 8 p.m. New York time. That'll be after the women, after you have your women's meeting. By the way, tonight, women's meeting at 7 p.m. New York time. Ministerial staff, I put out a message yesterday. We moved our ministerial staff meeting. We normally meet every first Thursday, but I still was not necessarily in shape enough to be able to do more than just the live sessions yesterday. So we'll get you guys straight and caught up and everything next week. Um, we are planning, at least the goal, is to try and be in Toledo, Ohio, somewhere around the 6th and the 7th for live sessions. Maybe even like the 7th and the 8th. That's probably closer now because we got to do a quick turnaround. But probably somewhere around the 7th and the 8th, something like that, be in Toledo, Ohio. So those of you who are in that area, if you'd like to come and meet us at a live session in the evening or in the rising or something like that, or maybe try to work out something in between, you can feel free to try to come by, and we'll try to make sure that we make that work. For those of you who are going to be meeting up with us in Detroit, we're going to try and do that the 9th through the, well, I should be there like the 10th through the 10th through the 12th officially. The 9th will be trying to arrive that day. All right. But thank you all. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully, you got something out the message once again. We will be doing something that will not be an Independence Day message so much, but it will discuss how Independence Day is not for us and how we need to make sure that we are independent of the world. All right, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Hopefully, we see you again tonight. If I don't see you again tonight, early Shabbat Shalom to you all. Take care. Get some rest. Praying for you. And we'll talk to you guys soon. As always, we give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Amma. To the ministerial staff, moderators, SOC, Lottie, Dottie, everybody. Love you much. Tada. And, okay. And if you can remember, as always, beloved, that you were loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be in it. All right. Shalom, everybody. Peace. Take care. Thank you again. Have a great day.